All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you come into Truth Will Set You Free here at the Be The Change Network, we've got some great stuff to talk about today. Why? Because we are actually having a political discussion. Don't want to call it a political debate, but we're going to have a political discussion. We'll be talking about why to vote for, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, or why to vote for Trump and Pence. So which way are we going to go is the question with that conversation. And we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter. So all these will be discussed on today's show, and we have got a great set of panelists all the way from the left and the blue and to the right and the red. And we're not going to have a full-on debate. What it's going to be is a conversation in order to possibly create a means of communication and realize why people come from different places and different concepts, different ideologies, etc. We do, of course, have Aaron Smalls, Curtis Harkness, and Cashley Kelly will be helping me host. I'm Anthony Russo, and we'll be getting started in less than 1 minute, maybe about a minute and a half. Who knows? We'll see.
Something fun I just learned is that similar to Zoom, if you hit the space bar, it activates and deactivates your mute button. That's fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, we are just about a minute away. We've got the gang is all here now. We've got Rashawn backstage, Brian, Carolyn, Jay, Drew, and Cash. Of course, Aaron. Curtis is on his way. He's running a little late. And we, of course, also have Yosra will be joining us as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Countdown is on. Thank you guys for joining us. Please share this out. Again, this is going to be a conversation on political topics and hopefully a way that we're not used to having them, with openness, kindness, and understanding of different viewpoints. And we do have a lot of different viewpoints. So again, welcome to Truth Will Set You Free. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Michael Russo from #BeTheChange. I'm waiting for the next 37 comments to be, oh my God, the mustache is gone. Well, the mustache got retired with Dr. Frank. I decided, I don't know when I'll bring it back. I figured with our episode last night, the mustache for now will not be with us for a little bit. With that said, today's show is something that, although scary, is also something I'm very excited about, because it's going to actually get a bunch of people together with different viewpoints and actually put themselves in a place to have an uncomfortable conversation about politics, and hopefully controlled in a way that we're trying to learn about each other, which should be really, really, really interesting. I've realized something in the last 24 hours. I started having this conversation. We've put ourselves in a point in this country with COVID where we can't post on social media. We can't post the fun stuff. We can't post what we're doing in our daily lives, because people will judge us. And I'll tell you, liberal or conservative, there's a lot of people that are still going out and doing things. So if you can't post that because people will judge you for it, what can you post? Politics. And it's causing a powder keg of people just waiting to fight each other over issues that we are naturally, as humans, going to have a difference in opinion. So I've realized, as I thought more about this in the last 24 hours, that this is what we've come to, is we don't have a lot to talk about. So it's causing us to have some real hard discussions. And I'm going to tell you, politics, not great to have in text, not great to have on social media, because you don't hear the context and all these different things. So with Be The Change Network and Truth Will Set You Free, that's the concept, is to have compassion and conversation, to bring people together that have different viewpoints, different concepts, and then find a way to learn from each other and be open-minded. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Will Set You Free. We are excited to have you. I'm going to bring up our other host to this show. I'm going to throw up Mr. Curtis Harkness, Mr. Cashley Kelly, There we go. Yep. And Aaron is now sporting my mustache. That's fantastic. So first off, let's have Aaron say hello with that mustache. How's it going? Why are you muted? Come back to us. Who's going to be the first to unmute their microphone?
There we go. That's what happens when you try new things. This is weird. How do you do this? How do you live life with this thing?
Wear a mustache? It's easier than you think.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Going to be hanging out for a little while here. I'm currently at my mom's house, so that's why it's a much different setup here down in Orlando. Flights are so cheap, so that's why I'm here. But it's great to see everybody here. I'm excited to have this conversation today because I am the least political person in this panel, maybe in the world. And I'm excited to hear some of these different viewpoints and learn some things today. So thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you.
Excellent. Curtis, we'll have you go next. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, man. just had to take my daily vitamins for anti-politicalness to get that disease. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm joking. Actually, just being healthy. Chilling down here in Atlanta. Hot spot of the South. We're not just hot Atlanta because we're hot. It's also because, never mind. But yeah, just chilling. I am not posting anything on social media, and that's not because people will judge me. It's just because I am literally just working on the computer all day, and there's nothing to talk about. So yeah, that's what I'm not posting. Also, my other life that I live with you when you shave your face like that and you look like a baby. I have no idea what that is.
All I know is the comments on the side are absolutely hilarious. So this is pretty good. All right, let's go and introduce Mr. Cashley Kelly. Cash, you muted yourself.
Like a joke yesterday.
There we go. There we go. Well, hello everybody. I hope you're having a great day out there. Oh, you didn't see my backdrop? Look at that. A little message from Black Lives Matter. No, they say our futures have been looted from us, so loot back. That was from the leader, actually, that was stated by the leader of Black Lives Matter in Chicago.
Salute back? Huh? Salute back?
That's no. Loot. So loot back. That's what they said. Loot back. Not salute back. No.
I was like, all right, there you go.
I thought that would be a nice touch. I was gonna share a big ass elephant and the whole flag behind it was really dope. But I'm like, nah, this one's gonna have to be the one. This one's gonna be the one. So yeah, that's what I went with. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. What's up, fellas? I love y'all. I'm not political at all. I barely talk about politics.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
My favorite thing about the backdrop is the creepy person that's just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. Like
I keep seeing it. I keep wanting to be like
left. That looked like Anthony with a beard, but like he shaved it now.
I keep wanting to be like Cash.
Was that a girl?
Look out, Cash.
I don't know what it is.
Look at the leg. Look at the leg. It's all bowed.
You can't tell anymore. I don't shave. I mean, I shave my legs, so you don't know.
I'm very hairy, but I have no hair on my legs. We are totally off topic, so let's go ahead and get started. Wait. Go ahead, Cash.
Curtis, you do not shave your legs, dog.
No, I did not shave my legs. I just said it. They're just not that hairy. Wendy said I lost 10 years. I wish I lost 10 pounds.
Oh,
let's
yeah,
do this.
You need to lose 10 pounds.
All right, let's do this.
Never mind.
Cool.
All right.
So we have a lot of guests for today, so we're going to try to organize this as much as possible. So be patient, and I know that we've got Drew that can only stay for an hour, and Cash can actually only stay for an hour as well. Curtis is also going to make moves. The goal of our hosts on this episode, essentially, Cash is going to be more of a guest because he's going to be part of the conversation. I'm going to be moderating and also leaning one direction pretty hard. But at the same time, we want to keep this a very fair and open conversation. Curtis and Aaron's point is almost going to be to moderate, also help see if there's any questions that spawn off or responses to it, since I want to really let the guests really, really get into the simple questions that we have, which, again, we're going to be talking about Black Lives Matter, I think is going to be the first thing we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about voting in terms of Biden or Trump. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody. They're going to have a minute or two, 3 minutes to tell a little bit who they are. So first, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and bring up Is there a race going on behind Curtis? Are they street racing?
I am in a very right-leaning side of Atlanta, and they like to rev their cars very loud.
How is that a right-leaning thing? That is not.
I didn't say it was a right-leaning thing. As I said, I'm in a right-leaning area that has very loud trucks and cars.
Okay, I'm going to go eeny meeny.
Just saying.
I'm going to go eeny meeny miny mo, and I'm going to have Mr. I'm going to have Drew come up first because Drew, you and I have to have a quick chat before we start this episode.
Drew, what up, brother?
What's going on, Curtis?
What's going on, Russo? Man?
It's been a while, man.
Goodness.
Drew, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Drew. I live in Seattle, Washington currently, Pennsylvania. Known Russo for almost 10 years now. Known Curtis for 5, 6, somewhere in there.
6, yeah.
Six, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I work as a real estate broker here in Seattle. Beautiful wife, 2 kids. And that's why I was. Yeah. Right. So I got a toddler. She's 22 months, and the young man, he's 6 weeks old. So
that's dope. That is dope.
Yeah, so I'll be, so I'll be popping in and out. Hopefully, I can hang the whole time. But
popping in and
yeah,
out.
so
all right.
Yeah, so that's real quick. Interesting enough, I think I've been tabbed as the liberal or left-leaning thing, which is an interesting designation. I've never been that, and actually, by Seattle standards, I'm far right wing. Basically, Ronald Reagan out here. So it's very different. So we'll see what kind of. It's interesting depending on the group that you are with. Where you kind of fall on the spectrum. But Claire Russo, speak your piece.
All right, so here's the deal. We can go back and forth on messages, and Drew and I have known each other again for 10 years. And I appreciate Drew. I think Drew is a very smart man. And I will actually say that the people I've learned the most from on the liberal concepts, liberal side of ideologies are Curtis and actually Drew, which is why Drew and I are still social media friends, because some of the discussions that get into his page, I don't mind going at it. And on my page, if I have to go at it, that's fine. It's when people pile on and question character, motives, and anything about me, that is the end of my discussion, which just literally happened about 15 minutes before we got on. And you liked the post where somebody questioned what I'm doing with BeTheChange and that I'm doing this for money and all these things, which if there's one way to light me on fire and make my blood boil and then like the post, that's it, Drew. So I do want to say, I want to clarify everything with BeTheChange. BeTheChange is not a charity. It is a company that I started 4 years ago in order to create change and help other charities. And if anybody ever questions the motives of what I'm doing, I am not going to speak for myself. I would like my friends to speak for me another time. But to your friend that was commenting on that, we were having discussion about what's the definition of an undocumented immigrant and how they're traceable. That whole line of questions, I was never being xenophobic, racist in any way, shape, or form. I was simply questioning a statistic, which to me is terrifying that I started getting called names. This is the one time we're going to have a side conversation. So Drew, go ahead and respond to whatever the heck just happened on your social media.
So as far as, interpretations, as far as you being xenophobic or anything like that, not going to dive into that. Anyone can, I think my page is pretty public, so anyone can go and read through and determine based off of, your comments in that exchange, what they want to draw from that. And I think there's enough things to get into to not to dwell necessarily on the contents of those things. I will say, I don't back down from anything or anyone, but I do admit when I have made an error. So I am kind of looking at it now, but I'm not going to get too far into it. So I did like the post when she was talking about the organization, but to be honest, I didn't actually open it. So I saw like the first part of it, and I very much agreed with the first part of what she said, and I did like it. And then you mentioned the other thing. I was like, oh, wait, what I like? And I went back and read the rest of it. I was like, oh, no, wait, no. You see, I didn't click on to see more. So, right. No, I did not. I do not agree with that as far as you doing this to make money. I know why you started it. I know the reasons behind it. I also didn't go unlike it because I don't unlike things. So
as long as we talked it out, it's fine.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. So I talked about my life things. I think it's important to that people as adults, have conversations and hash things out. You could have not had me on the show and said some things about me, or you could have just ignored it. But, again, because of the, history, it's like I said, I've known you for a very long time. We have these discussions every single day. And am I allowed to curse here?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
So as I said, I said, Anthony and I get in these things every day. And I appreciate someone coming on here and telling him he's a pig-headed ass. If he's acting like an ass, because I've called him an ass multiple times. And I think that people should, I'm all for respective, dialogue. And I think there's also a time for name calling, as long as, as you move on. And it's not, I would never say that Anthony is anything. I would not say Anthony is a racist. I would not say that Anthony is whatever else. I would not say that Anthony is a POS and ask for anything, but if he's acting like one at a particular time, I'll definitely mention so. In my opinion,
that's fair. I'm good with a good discussion. So with that said, I had to get that out because literally that was what was leading up into the 10 minutes of me getting on here, and I almost lost my mind. So with that said, this is it's now introductions. We're going to go through everybody else that we're going to have up on the show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up. Let's go with Jay. Jay, I'm going to have you come on next. Jay Kennedy, go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
Hey, everybody. My name's Jay. Anthony and I are recent friends, but we have lots of mutual friends, as I found out by digging into your LinkedIn today. I'm originally from Boston, but I live out in Los Angeles now. I've been out here for about 15 years. My girlfriend, Rebecca, and myself, we started our own marketing company this year after all of our business fell apart due to coronavirus. Politically, I try my best to stay out of arguments, but I fail. I lose that fight quite a bit to myself and to everybody else. I'm a left-leaning centrist. I've been a registered independent my entire life. Grew up kind of a blue-collar Democrat. When I was a kid, those are the ideals I kind of was raised on. And I'm pretty angry at the Republican Party for forcing me to vote Democrat for the last 8 to 10 years. I kind of feel like I have no choice. I'd like to have more choice. The only other thing I want to say is I've noticed that in some of your previous podcasts, which I flew through in the last 2 days, some of your most recent videos, people like I noticed Aaron did it on the last podcast, give book suggestions, what they're reading at the time. And in light of being positive, I wanted to promote this, Steven Pinker, Enlightenment Now, which is just great for positive thinking. It's the case for science, reason, humanism, and progress. This is a really good one for anyone who's interested in these type of topics and this type of positivity that we're talking about right now.
Awesome. Love it. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box as well. You said Steven Pinker.
Enlightenment Now. It's a good case for positivity and for seeing the good news that's happening right now in the world rather than just focusing on all the negative stuff.
Got it. Book, read. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Jay, for being here. And we are going to introduce next. We're going to have Carolyn, who is our, if somebody just asked, did we find a conservative female? We did. So Carolyn, come on up to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Cash. It's nice to meet you kind of in person. I am. I'm just finding out myself. I'm a conservative. It's been a very enlightening year for me as well. I'm registered independent. I was a time I leaned left, and I was voted Democrat all the way up to Trump. And I'm a single mom. I have a lot of backstory. We all do. And I think I've experienced both sides of the fence, and I think I can bring a lot to the table. I'm a really good mediator. I'm here to share. I'm here to learn. I'm here to see. I'm here to I'm putting the intention out there that we can have this discussion with open minds, with tolerance and acceptance, and hear each other without trying to change each other, right? And just try to understand each other. And me understand you, you understand me as a woman, as a Democrat, as a Republican, as whatever it is we want to share here. But just to be open to hear that, right? And I'm just going to, if I can ask of one thing, right? Because I'm a mom, so this is a natural tendency of mine. If I can just ask that you hear, if you get heated and you want to jump in, just breathe before you respond. Just take a breath, think about what you want to say. Am I going to want to take these words back? And the one thing I use, and use who you want, the universe, whatever, it's God for me. I say, does God want me to share these words? And if I get a resounding no, I'll eat them. There are times I make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. And we will make mistakes here, right? But I just say, let's be kind. Let's share. I'm not a political science major. I am a woman who grew up struggling, who found her voice. And it's a big step for me to be here with all of you guys. So be kind and gentle.
We got you. And I gave that. I gave that speech beforehand. Cash actually talked about it on his page, and to Yosra, and I think that was the last person, and Drew. The whole concept of this is to have a peaceful conversation. If it gets heated, that's fine. There's passion behind our feelings, but there's a certain point where obviously no name calling. I think we all understand that that's just not the way that we're going to do anything on here. So. All right, so next up, let's go ahead. I'm going to leave, just so everybody knows, I like the backstory on Brian. So I'm going to leave him actually for the last person. So I'm going to go with Rashawn. He's a friend of the show, and he's become a friend, even though him and I differ a lot in opinions. And I cannot say this more. I genuinely respect every social media conversation him and I have been involved in, and it's been impressive. And I think we've actually helped change each other. So I'm going to have Rashawn come to the stage. What's up, Rashawn? Tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Rashawn, as you said already, Air Force veteran, friend of a friend, put me into contact with this guy. Seemed like a cool dude. You know, he seemed like it was a trick, but everything's been cool. I'm all, like I said a million times, I'm all about the thoughtful exchange of thoughts. Now I lost it, but you know what I mean. Exchange of thoughts and ideas. So I feel like I'm being brought on as the villain. I think I'm the only true liberal here. I'm joking about the villain part, but obviously swimming with the sharks a little bit. But it's all good. I'm not mad. Like I said, I look forward to it because I'm interested in having a real
discussion.
I lost the word. Not discussion, but productive discussion.
So
if I talk weird, I got Invisalign.
Yeah, Rashawn and I, when we finally got put in touch to talk, him and I ended up having about an hour and a half conversation the first time we talked. I think
2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. It was fascinating. So I was looking forward to having him on. And don't worry, you're not the only liberal, because we also have Miss Yosra, which some of you might have seen from our debate the other day. I pulled her up. She had the stones per se to say, you know what, I'm just going to go one mano y mano on Anthony and see if we can have a discussion. And she sent me an amazing message today, just talking about the fact there is a beat that we have to take as people and see that, you know what, we're being so judgmental because we've been in this COVID crisis mode for so long that sometimes we see things and we're triggered, and just taking a step back. So I'm going to invite her. And again, this is somebody that I've not spoken with in 15 years. So somehow political debate brought us back together. So, Yosra, what up?
Hey.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Yosra. Right now I'm visiting my sister in Chicago, but I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. For those of you that don't know, I'm a liberal too, Rashawn, don't worry. But I am the child of 2 immigrants that came from Egypt. I'm kind of a loudmouth. I like to talk. My basic goal is the things people are scared to talk about. I want to talk about it until the uncomfortable is comfortable. I know people get uncomfortable talking about race and culture and things like that. I'm not uncomfortable with it, and I don't think anyone else should be. But yeah, once that stuff starts coming out, like I read a lot of the comments from last time. I think it's okay to talk. I forgive you. But I saw a lot of stories coming out, like people were getting defensive because I shared my story, and they started to share their stories and things that had happened with them. I thought that was amazing. That's how you end up relating to people, and that's how you end up being friends and realizing that you're all on the same page.
Definitely.
Excellent. All right, we're going to do one more intro, and I know Cash has got to go quick, so I think we're going to do Black Lives Matter first, but we're going to bring up Mr. Brian, the head of Deplorable Pride. Brian, go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Hi, I'm Brian Talbert, and I live in Albemarle, North Carolina. It's right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the founder of Deplorable Pride. We started out as an LGBT conservative group because I've always been involved with gay rights and everything, and I marched in the very first gay pride parade in 1994 in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I marched when the streets were lined with people. The Christian Coalition lined the streets, 1,500 people. People threw bottles at me, spit at me, and I marched so gay people could have, the younger crowd today would never have to go through what I had to go through. But then I got to 2017 after I'd voted for Donald Trump, and my own community kicked me out of a parade because I wanted to honor a president for the first time in my lifetime to treat me equal. He treated me like every other American, black, white, Asian, whatever you are. He treated me equal. And because of that, I was called a Nazi, a racist, a fascist, and I was kicked out by the same people that I marched with. So that they would never have to go through what I went with. And I never thought that my own people would do that to me. But now today, we're no longer an LGBT conservative organization. We're now an organization, we're called Deplorable Pride. We're a conservative gay straight alliance, because 80% of the people that are members in our organization are conservative Republicans that realize that gay people are just as much of a part of American fabric as everyone else. And I had to change my organization to reflect those people. So, you know, that's my little backstory. But because of that, I became on national news, and I went across the country within like 72 hours. I did interviews in 7 different countries and probably 2 weeks. I became the first gay person to ever be kicked out of a pride parade for supporting a U.S. president. That is disgusting as an American citizen, that you get kicked out of being who you are for supporting a U.S. president. But because of that, people came on board, and I mean, we're fighting right now to just be, a true gay conservatives fighting for equality. But you've got the gay liberals that are out here fighting for superiority. My life is no more valuable than anyone else on this panel. Every one of us are just as equal as everyone else. And that's like me as a gay person. I'm against these hate crime things, because I mean, just because someone kills me, murder is hate. They hate me regardless, but just because I'm gay, I'll get that my murderer will get a greater sentence just because I'm gay. That's not equality. That is superiority. And it's time that people start realizing that we're Americans. We're not black. We're not white. We're not gay. We're not straight. We're American citizens. And it's time that we come together. And I am a proud Donald Trump supporter, because it's the first freaking president of my lifetime that has ever treated my people equal. But the liberal gays want to sit back and just be brainwashed. And they're brainwashed because we got lazy ass Republicans that does not go in and go to get the vote of the gay community like the Democrats do. The Democrats are kicking our ass.
Love
it. I love you, bro.
I love you too, bro. I love everybody. But I'm called a racist and a Nazi because I'm a Donald Trump supporter. But I look out for my community. Donald Trump is the first president in U.S. history to actually want to go to other countries in the world and try to decriminalize homosexuality, where my people are beheaded, thrown off buildings, put in cages, and burned alive. I'm going to vote for him November 3rd, proudly.
All right, Brian. That is the way. Hold on, I got. Brian, I put you on mute for a second. Calm down. We were
hold on, Brian.
Hold on, Brian. Brian, hold on.
Listening to Brian is like watching the movie Uncut Gems.
Yeah. All right, so Brian got to do. Brian, hold on. You're muted. Everybody's muted. Yeah. So here's the deal. So everybody's going to get their time to actually have that kind of piece. Brian has a passionate story, and it's not just because of, cool, we let a Trump supporter have his piece. Brian has actually been accosted. He's been vandalized in his own neighborhood because of the fact that he's got Trump on. He's had his cars broken into. He's had different stuff. So he's angry. He's not happy, and he has a right to have that passion. So I gave him that moment. That's why I saved him for last. With that said, the first topic we're going to go over, so as long as we can keep Cash with us, And this is obviously a huge topic right now, and it's a cross and blur on Black Lives Matter. But I'm going to have Cash, since he is just put together a few videos on it. He's going to introduce the topic, and then I'm going to go ahead and organize it based on who we want to have answer first. So, Cash, what do you feel about Black Lives Matter?
Well, I want to piggyback real quick right off of what Brian said. All right. And this is the whole thing for me. My life is no more important than anybody else's life that's sitting right here with us right now. And when Black Lives Matter first started out, I was all for it. Of course. You know what I'm saying? I was all for it, especially the times that it came out. And then as it progressed, I started to notice a trend that they only came out and race baited, which was okay at first because it's like police officer kills guy. I get it. But then this last time, and even the time before that with Mike Brown, but this last time was really, really, really crucial for me because the narrative was all messed up. And what they came out to do was messed up. They came out, they were okay with people destroying the city. They were okay with people looting, which you see my background when we first started out. That was said by the leader in Chicago. She told them, go ahead and loot. It's a form of reparations. And then you got people protesting out there that are standing in front of white people's house talking about they need to give them their house. Like, you know what I'm saying? The whole message has just gotten lost. And Black Lives Matter, they say it's been hijacked, but I don't believe that it's been hijacked. I believe that the leaders sold out for the money of the people that they are funded by, because they don't come out and speak against, they actually incite, they actually encourage the wrong. So, and then the really crazy part is Black Lives Matter isn't even black no more. It's a whole bunch of liberal white people that are out there. You know what I'm saying? That I could see from all the videos that I watch of all the protesters that I see. So Black Lives Matter, which was started out to bring awareness to something and to unite people together, ends up being something that has just become totally divisive and harmful to the country. And not just the country, to black people. Because over in Chicago, they're encouraging people to loot, which could potentially what? Cause another incident for a black man to be killed by the police for doing something illegal. But that's just my stance. Black Lives Matter is a horrible organization, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the sentiment. I agree with the thought. I don't agree with the sentiment behind it. All lives matter.
All right. So with that, everybody that's on the side, I know everybody's going to have different opinions on this. So as we go and as we start having these discussions, the one thing I encourage is it took an enormous amount of courage for every single person to be on this show. So please keep it kind. You can question each other and start having conversations on the side. That's fine. But again, this one is a huge show that I want to prove to people as a group that we could be different and still come together and have a decent conversation. So with that said, I know I've had some conversations about Black Lives Matter with some of the liberal people on this show, or the more left-leaning people. Is there anyone right now that still is a full, true blue supporter of what Black Lives Matter is doing? Or has that been lost? Yo, you are up first, my girl. All right. Yosra, go ahead and give your piece about Black Lives Matter.
So my train of thought with all of Black Lives Matter is not to stereotype, just like, because I have a lot of experience with that. Just because you're Arab, you're not a terrorist. Just because you're white, you're not in the KKK. I think the original basis and root of Black Lives Matter is what's important to me, and that's what I stand by. I don't have to continue to stand by people looting and doing other things. And in my experience, actually in Raleigh, the looters came afterwards and kind of just trashed the city, and they weren't even part of the movement. I'm sure some of them are. I'm sure some of them are just fucking things up, but that's not what I've seen, and that's not what I'm going to do. So I'm going to stand with what I like. And just like any other group that comes together, like with the Boston bombing, like we all put up Boston Strong on our Facebook. No one was like, but my city matters too. You know, that city in general at that time needed our help, and we stood together. It happened in Vegas. It happened with breast cancer. Men don't jump up and say, hey, what about my colon cancer? No, this particular group needs our support, and it needs our help. And you can't deny it. I'll tell you one short story, like with the reparations, like, no, I don't think you can go outside someone's house and demand their house for reparations. But we have to remember a lot of our history is buried, and we don't know the full struggle. Like even in Raleigh, Brian, you might be familiar with Cameron Village, for example. This huge, rich, expensive shopping center in Raleigh. You dig a little further, you don't learn this in school. You can't really even read it in books. But turns out Cameron Plantation once stood on that land. Tons of slaves, once they were freed, they spread out all over that area. They built a school. They built an entire community that was amazing, and it was thriving. And guess what happens? They did too well. The government swipes in. They take all the land and they turn it into Cameron Village. And now all that's left is Oberlin Village, a little sign that says this is a contribution to Oberlin Village. There's nothing left. They ripped it apart. And those are the things we don't know and we forget. And yes, I do think Black Lives Matter, and they are important.
Cash, before you go,
it doesn't make anyone else less important.
I know, but I want to challenge one thing, and then I'm gonna have Cash go. So one of the comments you talked about Boston Strong, and you talked about Vegas Strong, and all these different things. If you look at Vegas Strong, for example, and first off, there's a difference in verbiage between strong. Strong is just adding a word that allows us to say right now we need to put strength into them. It's positive. Where the matter does in some way take away from the other people, because it's saying this matters, this doesn't. Whereas one is we are getting behind this and creating strength. That's one thing. And two, if you look at Vegas Strong, and this is a food for thought, and this is a question back to you, and then I want to know what Cash has to ask as well. But 59 people died in Las Vegas, and one event in one moment. Whereas if we're looking at an organization based off of police brutality and police killing, if the statistics are correct, which again, they might be underreported, whatever it might be, but it would take 6 times the amount, or more, actually 7 times the amount of Black people to be killed unarmed than what died at the one day in Vegas, and that's in one calendar year. So using those as comparisons, do you see that as kind of questionable, or how do you think about using that as a comparison?
No, because the Vegas event was one day, and it was a big one day event. So it hasn't been happening for over years. It didn't start with slavery. It didn't start with land being taken away. It didn't start with Martin Luther King marching and history in itself that hasn't even been looked at. I was shocked when I found out all that buried history. I thought that shit only happened in third world countries. I couldn't believe it happened here. There's a ton.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it's the same.
And we've talked about that history quite a bit. And so the reason I say if it's not the same, why bring it up in the same breath? Cash, go ahead.
My question is, Yosra, is what do you feel that I need help with? Because you said that Black people we need help right now, that the focus needs to be on us right now. So what is the focus that needs to be on me right now as a Black man over anybody else? What do I need help with that I'm not getting help with?
I don't say you need help, just you in particular. I think there's a lot of, as a Black person, okay, let's say you were one of the people in Oberlin Village. You got your house taken away. You ended up having to go and, you got put in a literal ghetto. You know how hard it is to come out of that? I'm sure you're familiar. So you have to, the odds are literally against you as soon as you start your life. You have to literally beat everyone in your community. You have to beat the white people. You have to do everything. And I myself know how hard it is to get any type of scholarship to go to school, because I had to fight a lot of people in Rocky Mount for that. So yeah, I would say yes. Why not give them some help and acknowledge the history you had to go through?
No, I understand, my sister. I hear what you're saying, but you just helped me out with the point, though. You say being in the ghetto and having to try harder and all that. What about the count? My mom happens to be white, and there's a lot of white people from my hood in Chicago. You in Chicago right now. You can go through the hood right now. You're gonna see white people in the struggle right now too. So they don't need the same help.
They do. They're fighting for the same thing. It's not just because you're Black. Like, I see it as you're fighting against racism and people like. So it's not. Don't say all lives matter.
No, I'm about
that's
to say
literally
why
taken
is
away.
It only that Black lives need to matter, because it's white lives, brown lives, yellow lives is down there in the city too. In Chicago, them streets where you at right now, I used to terrorize them damn streets. I used to. I was one somebody that people was like, "Yo, stay away from him." And I didn't have a shot in the world. Nobody gave me my shot. I worked for it, and I'm still in it. I'm still in the struggle. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is, what makes me compared to the white dude that lived next door to me that's in the same gang, in the same struggle. His mama strung out too. What makes him any less, or his life matter any less, or why not matter any less? But why does the spotlight need to be put on my life because I'm Black, is what I'm trying to say.
So let me ask you a question. You said when Black Lives Matter started, you were all for it and you liked what it stood for. What was it that you liked?
The aspect of, well, what I knew at the time of them killing police, because at that time I was thinking that police were just going out and killing Black people, and it was for no reason. So I was misinformed at that time. I was literally thinking that what I was seeing on the news was real, that Black people were dying all over the country at the hands of police. And what made me sway away from that was me educating myself and understanding that no, Black people aren't being killed in an alarming rate by the police. That's just something that the media is pushing. Really, people getting killed about the same. White people and Black people both dying at the hands of the police. And it's not because they're innocent. In some instances, it's an unarmed person. In some instances, they are innocent. In some instances, it is a racist or corrupt cop. But in more instances than not, it's a criminal. I was one of them criminals. I could have died at the hands of the police shooting at their ass.
Yes, you could have.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to the history. The history is what makes the difference. Slavery and the entire fight. That's what's different.
So the history, obviously the history is very different, and that is understood. And then we got to start looking at today. And if there is these issues that we're running into with the actual movement and corporation becoming one entity, in the last, it's defeating the message and it's causing more violence in the end. And I'm going to go to Jay and Curtis real quick, and then we're going to go to some of our conservatives on this one. The last thing I want to say to Cash's point, Cash and I don't always agree, and I do not agree that Black Lives Matter ever started out in a correct way, to be totally honest. I've said this on another show. I think it was meant for the purposes of division because they chose the wrong people. They chose Tamir Rice was a right person. To me, Tamir Rice was somebody like a George Floyd where we can all get behind. We saw it with our eyes and we can start to come together and find a way to say something needs to change. Whereas they chose Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin, both of whom I think were flawed individuals in my personal opinion, because Michael Brown, to me, Trayvon Martin at least was younger. Michael Brown has a whole false narrative of hands up, don't shoot that has been pushed and pushed and pushed. And they found two people that they knew that half of the population would not get behind their story. Tamir Rice, innocent 12-year-old, who wouldn't get behind what they see on camera. But why would you create it? That's why I think the movement was created just completely flawed, knowing that it was going to divide people. So I'm going to open up the microphone for Jay and Curtis. Jay actually is going to go first, and then Curtis will come back. Jay, what's up?
Well, yeah, thanks. A couple of points I wanted to make. I think that everyone, especially who is, sort of against Black Lives Matter, is laser focused on police killings only, when that's not anywhere near the only issue that matters here. It's the entire Justice Department that's shown to have systemic racism over the years. So, I mean, we can pull up, unarmed Black men getting shot by police all we want, but that's not even close to being the only issue that matters here as it relates to systemic racism. It's not just killings by the police themselves. It's, driving while Black, walking while Black, jogging while Black. It's all these other things that matter that cumulatively have added up. George Floyd's just a flashpoint, not to obviously belittle his life, but that's a flashpoint. Tamir Rice is a flashpoint. Michael Brown's a flashpoint. These aren't things that in and of themselves, started these movements. These are, again, cumulative things that have happened over the course of years and years and years that people got fed up, just like they did with Rodney King 30 years ago. Well, Rodney King was a flawed individual as well, but that was a flashpoint that made everybody rise up and start to challenge these things that are wrong in our country right now. A couple of things I want to point out before I turn it over to. Look, I agree with Cash about the things that Black Lives Matter, and you, Anthony, that's very wrong about the movement. Encouraging people to loot, saying that those are forced reparations, et cetera. I mean, it's just, I'm a marketer, it's in PR. It's bad PR. It's the worst possible way to get people to get on your side. But BLM has shifted the conversation great in this country. Corrupt police officers are held more accountable. There's increased interest in sharing in police brutality videos on the internet and social media. There's increased funding for alternative methods of crime prevention. Numerous cities and states have banned chokeholds. There's forced use of federal police with body cams and dash cams. Confederate statues are being removed. These are all very positive developments, and I think that we do ourselves a disservice if we're only talking about all cops are bastards and how stupid that is. You know what I mean?
Got it. Cash, Curtis.
Real quick, brother Jay, how you doing, man? It's very nice to meet you. The thing that I thought that you said, it goes further than just the police, and I understand that when you go into saying about systematic racism and you use the narrative of walking while black, driving while black. I don't necessarily think that it's because people are black. That comes into a rich poor scenario, even when it goes into people going into court and getting sentences. It goes into, there's a little, I will agree with systematic racism, a little bit systemic racism, but what I'll say about the driving while black, walking while black, that's not the case. It's a povertized community and it's mixed. Like I say, from where I come from, it's diverse. You have Hispanic, you have white, you have black, you have Chinatown, you got all these different places. And if you're poor and you're in the hood, no matter what color you are and you in the hood, you're gonna get pulled over and you're gonna get messed with. And it's not because the color of your skin. Most of the time, it's because you're either a part of the gang or they think you're a part of the gang or they think you're selling dope or they think you're buying dope. So, and they only happens, they suspect that in them communities because they're poor. That's what happens in a povertized community. So again, I don't think that that's a valid thing on my aspect because of where I come from. I know that to be false from where I live, where I grew up, in the hoods that I ran around in. I know that to be a false thing because I've seen white people get pulled over, get slammed into the car, get accused of doing things. I've seen it firsthand. So I don't believe in the police or the justice system just singling out black people. I don't believe in that. I believe that it depends on how much money you got in your pocket at the end of the day.
Curtis, I think, is going to have an interesting point to that because Curtis and I have had this discussion. I see Brian, Rashawn both put their hands up. So give me a split second to get around to you guys. And Aaron is actually, and Carolyn too. So we're gonna do this loop. We're gonna go to Curtis. We're gonna go Curtis, Brian. Aaron's going to have to go, so I want him to kind of give his feedback on what he's seen, and then we'll go Rashawn, Carolyn. Sorry, guys. 10 is a lot. 10 is a lot. Curtis, go ahead. Curtis, this would be your cue.
You had to make sure the mic was on, Someone keeps muting me. Yeah, so a couple things. So I get what you're saying, Cash, about the hood, where you're from. I mean, it's money. There's no money there. People are going to be doing things, and the police it a certain way. Now, when it comes to driving while black, most people in the hood, in certain hoods, have cars to drive. If you're in New York City, 9 times out of 10, you ain't got a car to drive. That's an assumption, but that's most people in New York City because most people have never gotten even a driver's license. That's just from me living up there and people I know. But me growing up in both part of the hood in New Orleans and then moving out to a nicer place in Atlanta and being blessed to be able to work hard and get out and go other places. I have been pulled over in a nice car, in nice clothes, driving the speed limit, stopped at every stop sign, 3 seconds, in a nice neighborhood and been pulled over by police that are white. And I'm very respectful to the police. My parents have always taught me to be respectful to everybody in authority, even if they're wrong. And I've asked why I've been pulled over. And they go, well, what are you doing here? What are you doing in this area? And I go, why? Excuse me? I said, I'm going to see a friend. And these questions of being pulled over when a friend that is white is driving in the same neighborhood right in front of me, I'm following the person in a less nicer car, dressed in shorts and a t-shirt. When I'm dressed in a nice suit, driving a very nice car, and it was a rental, but still driving a very nice car, and I got pulled over and they did it. And I actually knew the person. I gave them the address to go, and they were just driving first. And I go, well, I'm going to see a friend. Well, who's your friend? And I said, well, this person. Well, you don't know this person. And it's that one's instance when I was in a very nice place. I was also in a car in another instance, and I just told my dad this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was very livid because I never told him. I've been pulled over a few times. Once, I literally pulled over and they were yelling, "Put your hands out the window." It's me and 4 other black men. All were doctors. I was only non-doctor. I was a businessman, but non-doctor. All dressed nice clothes. Going to the club in a pretty nice side of Atlanta. Again, pulled over. We put our hands out the car because we don't want to get shot because their guns were drawn. Why are your guns drawn? We get out the car nicely, understand that we're following the rules in and we get handcuffed and set on the curb. Why? And of course, I'm not going to ask in that situation, sir, what are you doing? Why are we getting pulled over? Because unfortunately, the way they had their guns out in that situation, and this is not just two cops. This is about 3, 4. They pulled out of nowhere, and finally, after about 15, 20 minutes, because we were like, just follow the rules. Don't do anything to get shot. And they go, well, what are you? And we go, what, sir, officer, Mr. Sir, what are we? Well, you fit the description of narcotic people in this area. And I go, in this area, it's a very non-diverse area, it's pretty much predominantly Caucasian. And I go, sir, we don't sell any drugs. And he goes, well, we're searching a car. And mind you, these are all respectful. Nobody cursed at the police. Nobody refused anything. And that was just that one time where I actually got arrested and said, handcuffed, not arrested. It's two totally different things. We've gotten that again where the cops had their guns out and they had to put our hands out and they came up and then talked to us. So I've been in the car when I was in the back seat and there was a white person driving. This is a couple times. We've gotten pulled over because we were speeding, probably a lot faster than what the speed limit was. And the police comes up nonchalant, shines the light in, and then shines it on me. Focuses on me. Why are you focused on me? I'm the only black person in the car. And so, not saying that all police are bad, because I had plenty of times where I was actually doing something wrong, actually in Seattle a couple times, and I was actually speeding, and the police pulled me over. And again, very nice policeman came up and told me this and that. Yes, sir. And I told him what I did, what my job was. He checked my record. It was clean. He let me go. So I'm not saying that every police, but this is the thing. In the hood, I could see that because it's so much the police have to deal with. But this is the problem where when I'm in a nice neighborhood, and this is not just me. I'm plenty other guys I know that are black that are running different circles that are more affluent. And we've been the ones stopped, talked to. And I just saw another video about, and I sent this to Anthony, about a black man in his own yard.
In his own yard.
Just paid somebody to cut his grass. They left. He's walking around his own yard. The police pull up. Sir, let me see your ID to make sure you live here. If I'm an American, if we all about being Americans, I ain't got to show you an ID if I live at a house. I've been asked to show me the registration of this vehicle, sir.
I agree.
License registration. You own this vehicle? No, sir. I rented it. I need to see your rental papers. Yes, sir. Here you go. Where did you rent it? What do you mean? You can read the rental paper. Of course, I didn't say it like that because he had his hand on his hip. So I'm just saying, in those situations,
Brian.
Yeah, go ahead. In those situations, just saying, it's areas that.
Go ahead.
I hear you, my brother. I really do. But real quick, I just got to point it out. Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. I understand completely, but. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to prove something to you real quick. First off, I want to tell you that the police, they are trained a very specific way to look for things that are not normal in their community. Okay, that's number one. Number two, just how you assume that people in the hood don't have cars, them police probably assumed that you was hanging out with them white kids because you was probably going to serve them some dope.
Why would they assume that?
Because
why
you're
would
black.
They assume me?
Because you're black. The same way that you assumed that, the same way that you assume that people in the hood don't have cars, some of them cops probably assume you in the wrong neighborhood and you with these dudes, you probably selling dope, which is wrong. There's profiling. I understand. I get it. But it's this, all humans do it, is what I was just getting at. You did it right now when you assumed that niggas in the hood ain't, or people in the hood ain't.
I didn't say all. I said most.
I'm just saying most, and they probably see that most black people don't sell dope. All I'm saying is that's human nature. Okay, that's just how things go. Is there dickhead cops? Of course. Some of them cops need to lose their jobs because some of them are racist. And I agree with you. Some of these cops are racist and they don't do their job well. I agree. But majority of the cops do their job well, is what I'm trying to say. So, and what I'm getting at is the whole narrative that Black Lives Matter, because that's where it started out at, the whole thing that they have pushed, the agenda that they have pushed, defund the police. Because all cops are bad. All cops are bastards. And this is Black Lives Matter, not the supporters of Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the people with the agenda of Black Lives
100%.
Matter. And it's human error. It's human error, man. That's all it is. That cop was a dick. He should not have profiled you. You just made it seem like I probably couldn't have a car. I was possibly one of the people that couldn't have a car because I was from the hood, not knowing that I sold a lot of, and I had a nice car, ML430 Mercedes-Benz, chromed out pipes.
But I just wanted, it's only take me 30 seconds, Anthony. I was just saying for you said human nature. I'm going off of human nature of knowing the transit system. That's what I'm going off of. And living in New York City and also in New Orleans. But when you say it's human nature to assume that a black person is hanging out with them because of dope, that's a learned behavior.
No, stereotype. Because human nature to stereotype is what I'm trying to say.
But again, that stereotype, but I'm just saying that stereotype is a learned behavior and is a part of a system that is in the police system, at least I know for New York. And that's well, I'm just saying of the soft and the hard target and how they assign what that is automatically. And this is from a police officer who's still a lieutenant. It was a black person's a hard target, Latin person's a hard target, a white person is a soft target. So when I say it's a stereotype, that is what came out the mouth of a police person.
We're moving on this one, guys. All right, so we're going to go to Aaron is going to do a half tie together.
Sorry, guys.
Single knot. Carolyn, I see your hand going up. I hope you guys have pen and paper to take notes because we are going to come back to it all. It's all good. Just stay right there. We can all bring it back. And let's also remember we're still trying to focus on Black Lives Matter. I love the notes, Carolyn. Great. Aaron, I know you got to go, so go ahead and this is your time to give a little piece on all this stuff.
Real quick, have you ever dealt with the black cop, though? That's all I'm saying.
Who, me?
Cash.
Yes. He's the one who came and got us uncuffed in Atlanta.
Go right ahead, bro. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm literally muting you guys. All right, Aaron, go ahead.
So this is kind of the concept that I talked about before with everything is what is the why? What is the mission? What are we trying to accomplish? It's the same thing for Streetlights Unity Movement. It's the same thing for Deplorable Pride, for Be the Change. What is the why? What is the mission? What are we trying to accomplish? What are our checklists? What is our agenda? What is our goal? That's always what needs to be defined in a business, in an organization, in anything. Because when that isn't defined and it's unclear, the bigger the organization gets, the fuzzier the initial cause gets. So with Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter or whatever it is that we're discussing, we have to hone into what was the original purpose? What was the original cause? Because if we don't know what that is, the bigger and bigger it gets, the broader it becomes. So maybe you supported it in the beginning, but now you don't support it at the end. Well, are you a supporter or are you not a supporter? And it's so difficult to say because you can't say, oh, I'm a supporter from the beginning, but I'm not a supporter now, because that gets very skewed. It's very cloudy. So that is one of the biggest discussions here is with Cash talking about, well, why is Black Lives Matter important to me? Or why is it doesn't affect me or doesn't impact me? Why should I support it? Again, that's where it comes into who is the main organization that started it? Why did they start it? What was the purpose? What were they trying to fix? Or what were they trying to highlight in order to make some kind of a change? With the reference that Yosra made with Vegas or Boston, I could be wrong in this assumption here, but I believe that she brought that up because it was a specific time that needed a focus. It wasn't about the broader picture. It was about this particular moment that we needed to put focus on. So now that we've elongated this moment of Black Lives Matter, that's where we're getting to. Well, why are we still focused on this? Why is this? Why is that? And it's the only thing we have to talk about right now. That is one of the biggest and main things that we have to talk about right now. So that's why we continue to talk about it. But we're not defining anything. So if we don't define what it actually is or why it's there or what it actually means, how can we make any statement about it? How can we put a direction or understand the intent behind Brian when he gets so passionate about something if we don't know what his organization is about and why they are there? So whether it matters to you, Cash, or it doesn't matter to you, there may be another organization that it is specific to that it does matter to. And that's what I think we have to start to define in order to say, yes, we agree, or no, we disagree.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And it's one of those ones, if you don't set up a structure and you don't know what to believe, then to me, that's failure. That's how failure.
And the last part of that I left out is, and then you start to get the comments of, well, what is Be the Change really about? Are they making money for this? Is it going towards that? That's what happens when it's not defined. People will start to make their own decisions. And it's like, well, what is Black Lives Matter for? Where's the money going to? Where is it this? What is that? That's when it starts that's when it starts to get fuzzy, when it's not directly labeled. You know what you're getting from Apple. You know what you're getting from these big companies because they lay it out very clearly for you.
Yeah, I think the change is clear. Action over awareness.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, Aaron, you got a roll?
Yeah.
Excellent. Aaron, thank you very much. Brian, going to you. Sorry, guys. This is a whole new setup in terms of the amount of people. So, Brian, we're going to, this is kids in a candy store.
I ain't never seen as many people. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, we're doing it. So on the second topic, when it comes to the presidential stuff, we are going to be doing 1-minute responses. All right, Brian, we've let everybody talk for a full time. So on this one, go ahead and do exactly how you feel about Black Lives Matter. And the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm going to speak on Black Lives Matter only from my corner of the world of what I see going on with Black Lives Matter. And Eurosa, I hope I say that correctly. If I didn't, someone please correct me. But she speaks of North Carolina, and I want to speak of North Carolina and Black Lives Matter. And you're from Raleigh, so we all know that there is a hotbed of Antifa in Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And Black Lives Matter has bonded with that terrorist group to where Black Lives Matter has now, but yes, don't shake your head, you know I'm correct. We're both in North Carolina. They may not know, but you and I do know. But Black Lives Matter has bonded with Antifa, and therefore that is why people in North Carolina look at Black Lives Matter as a terrorist group. You come in and you try to just like the gay people, the liberal gays, you think you're superior. You think that whatever affects you in life has got to become more important than anyone else. And that's the reason you're seeing a backlash of people that do not, it's not like we don't care. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, gay lives matter, white lives matter, everyone's lives matter. But you go out and you decide that you are going to destroy an entire uptown city area because you have bonded with the terrorist group Antifa. I see it in North Carolina, and you're lying to everyone on this panel if you do not admit to it. You accept the fact that Antifa will come in and do something that you don't have the balls to do. They'll come in and they'll destroy everything in sight, and the claim of we're standing up for Black lives. You don't have to destroy everyone else around you in order for to rise another group of people up. I'm a gay person. I've had my ass beat. I've had a gun put in my mouth. The point is that I don't let that fear or that anger go out and cause me to destroy Black people in order to make my cause any more important. But you have latched on to a terrorist group that you're allowing to go out and cause the violence, like I said, that you don't have the balls to do yourself. So that's why you're getting the backlash. You can laugh all you want to, but it is the truth. You and I both know here in North Carolina that is exactly what's going on. We see it in Asheville. We see it in Raleigh. You know, I love every one of you, including her. The point is that we can come along. We can all come together and we can all fix America's problems. But if you think that you're going to sit here and destroy everything that I love and everything that I grew up with, if you think you're going to destroy that to replace it with everything that you love and destroy it, we can all come together as one. But you're not superior to me, and you never will be.
I have to let Yost at least respond to that because I was directly to her. And again,
But you didn't let me respond to her when she directly called it out to me.
I know, I got it.
So I just want to call that out, but then we'll go for that. But she knows I'm telling the truth.
You were a little heated about it. Carolyn,
I'm mad.
Okay, really quick, Carolyn, and then we'll go to, because she's jumping. Carolyn, go ahead, and then Yosra, I'll let you reply. Give you a second to think about it, too.
If anybody's getting triggered, just, Simon says, follow me. It takes a trigger down so you can respond more sensibly. Brian, join me. Honest to God, if you have, take a
No,
breath
I don't need to
and
take
do
a
this with
breath.
me.
I'm mad.
Take that
I'm
down.
mad, and you should be mad too. Everybody
No,
on
you're
this
right,
panel
you
should
are.
be mad. Our country
No,
is screwed up right now because everyone thinks they're a victim. Everyone
Brian,
needs
I
to
love
be
you.
a little bit mad.
This is what. Okay, I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that.
Well, don't
for you,
ask me
okay?
to
I'm going to give a little
apologize.
point.
Don't
Okay?
ask me to apologize.
No apology.
Okay.
No
All right, I'll
apologies.
listen.
Right?
I'll
I'm going to start. I
listen.
have some notes. I'm just going to say what I feel like saying. I like to come from a different perspective. Right? Is it Yosra?
Right.
I don't want to ruin your beautiful name. Yosra is right. Okay. So I'm going to touch point on the Boston Strong thing. My perspective of Boston Strong. Yours is the complete opposite of mine. Right? So I look at Boston Strong as an incident that happened where it brought people together. Police, community, ordinary citizens, gay, young, old, fat, skinny, white, black, Chinese, I mean, different countries. We all came together and we felt each other. Do you understand that? We felt each other in that tragedy. 9/11, we felt each other in that tragedy. We sent our soldiers off to war. We feel each other in those moments. We need to come back to be able to feel each other in this country. We are so divided. And it's not helping us. Curtis, I so understand what you were saying. I hear you. And I am sure that happens. I will never tell you that it doesn't happen or give you any statistics as to why it happened. My response to that would be, we all show up in the world and we see through a lens of our own experience. Right? So there are police officers that are very altruistic and are in that for the service, right? They are in because they want to serve, right? And then there are officers in there because they are full of ego. We all know them, right? They're the ones that may have gotten beat up when they were younger or had hard lives, and they have a chip on their shoulder. I almost said the F word, and they have a chip on their shoulder, right? They exist. That is no lie. They exist. But also so does the ones who just want to do good in the world. As Rashawn, you must know that as being in the military, there are some that go in, some want to get the education, they want to do anything else, some want to go in, they want to fight, they want to kill bad guys, they want to make a difference in the world, right? And then there are some who just suck, right? They're just in there in the dirt bags, right? Let's face it. Every group has them, right? How do we move forward from this, right? We can, Yosra, you said Black people, right? Black people need this and Black people need that. Well, who are the Black people? Because I know Black people who don't want anything to do with this, right? So who are those Black people? You have to define who they are. Some Black people don't want us speaking for them. Some Black people don't want you speaking for them, right? You can't speak for everybody because of your experience and your lens.
And that's actually speaking not only to Yosra, but that's also to you, Brian. And I'm going to open it back up to Brian and Yosra for a split second. But Brian, remember, before we go back into this, first off, take a breath, because I did this. The whole concept of this is having that place of safety between all of us, and there was a lot that was definitely a little bit heavy on Yosra. And the interesting thing is, you were doing to her exactly what you felt as though she did to you, and two wrongs don't make a right. And ultimately, and just like Carolyn just said, that's a perfect precursor to the way I'm going to let this conversation go on. Is she might see something very different than you do. That doesn't make her wrong. That means that her circle is different. So you bring it up, and words really, really matter. And we talk a lot about that. The way that you come into a conversation saying, my experience is this, I can't speak for yours. However, I feel like certain things need to change and certain things need to be looked at differently because this is affecting me. Brian, your story is brutal, what you're going through right now. But you have to remember, Yosra is not in your living room. She's not in your house. She's not seeing everything that's going on in your life. So, Brian, I'm going to open it back up to you real quick.
Attack the issue, not each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Hey, really quick. I saw a comment. I need to address this.
Okay.
I don't stand behind the BLM Corporation and company. I do stand behind that. I believe Black lives do matter. And I, again, like you said, if we don't define it, people are just going to keep throwing. And I'm not attacking you, Joanne Lopez. I don't know if you're an avid watcher of the show or the podcast. Just saying, I'm not saying that I support it. I'm just saying that I do see issues that we have to address. That where when people say Black lives matter, it can definitely understand from me. So just wanted to put that.
Thanks, Chris. Yep. All right, Brian and Yosra, I see that look you're giving me right now. I got you. All right, We're going to bring you both on, and you guys cannot talk over each other. I'm going to let Brian talk for 30 seconds, though. Both of your mics are hot right now.
Okay. I'm not coming on here trying to offend her. I'm coming on here because she's lying. And I'm not lying about exactly has happened to me. But the point is that she's lying about the Black Lives Matter movement that is going on in North Carolina. She and I both are in this state. I know how Black Lives Matter and Antifa have bonded in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. That's the reason she has the smirk on her face. That's because she knows I'm telling you the truth. And all you people are saying that you're going, he is hoping.
That's it. Yosra, go ahead.
Brian. All right. First of all, when I called you out earlier, it's because I realized you were from North Carolina. So I said, hey, you're probably familiar with Cameron Village. Here's some history maybe you didn't know about. I never said I was superior to you. That's 100% your own word. I never thought I was superior to you. I love Black Lives Matter because it's something that I can relate to. I'm not speaking for anyone. I'm not speaking for all Black people. I'm not speaking for all white people. I'm not speaking for Antifa. I'm speaking for myself. This is the community I have bonded with, and I respect them, and I like what they stand for. And in my personal experience in life, I can relate to it through things I have been through. So I'm not sure why you took it as a attack. I never actually attacked you, so that was weird. But yeah, in Raleigh in particular, several things have happened. Jay pointed that out. We had a school named after a Confederate soldier, a leader. We changed its name to Oberlin Village Middle School or High School. We took down all the Confederate statues going around the Capitol. We have made change. I am not in cahoots with Antifa. Seems a little paranoid, but I am not against you, and I am not in cahoots with anyone, and I am not lying.
Okay, yeah,
so
and again, Brian, I'm going to keep you muted for a little bit. I'm going to go over to Rashawn. Yosra, again, nobody's a liar. That's the thing. There is liars, and none of them are on this stage right now. Brian, we can't hear you. I have you muted. Here's the deal. There are no such thing as a liar unless it's blatant. What's great about this panel to this point is we're speaking our truth. We are speaking what we see in our lives that creates this. There's nothing about Yosra that's lying in any way, shape, or form. She is in a different part of North Carolina. She's in a different part of North Carolina. She sees things differently. And honestly, based on the way that we have all been brought into this conversation and the way that we see media and see different things, that is going to give the idea that we all have a different perspective. And that's the key here. And Brian, I love your passion. But you have to stop being angry at other people. If you can't, okay, so you just said, since I read lips, I'm not angry.
She's not a liar.
She's not a liar. She's a liar. She's not a liar, Brian. All right, so Rashawn, I'm going to go to you.
My brother.
Rashawn, I'm going to go to you, my man.
There's so much that happened.
I know.
Way hard to catch up, like 3 pages ago, right? But quickly, my guy Cash here, he was talking about the organization, and I think that's a big thing as part of this whole conversation. The organization versus the movement. The organization, I believe. I mean, the thing is, like, people don't really understand. People who are against the organization, they believe that all Black people jump in with the organization. And the truth of the matter is, most Black people don't. They also think the organization is FUBAR. But that's separate from the movement. And you shouldn't let that, besmirch what the movement is standing for. You can't really be against Black people not being, being killed by cops. You can't be against, like, having a fair chance in life. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. Who would do that? Nobody, right? So, but the organization completely taints everything. It muddles everything, and then I think people jump on, and like someone said before, if it's not defined, then people make up whatever they want. So that was one thing. That's a huge part of it. Just separating that, I think, makes the conversation a lot easier to have. You know what I mean? And also, I wanted to say about because we were just talking about the protests and the looting and all these things. One of the things, being in the military, I know people all around the country. They all took videos of the marches that they were in. None of them were violent. One of them was violent because the cops decided to shoot tear gas into them when they weren't doing anything. Understand, everything isn't in a vacuum. So there's one part of expressing your free speech, and then at the end of the day, the cops also have to do a job. If you're not supposed to be out there all night, eventually they're going to come and move you. So that's fair. But how you do that is a whole other conversation. You feel me? So if they're being peaceful and you move them out, that's one thing. If they're being peaceful and you just decide to shoot them in the face with rubber bullets, that's a whole other conversation. But again, I think the main thing is everybody I know across the entire country, from North Carolina, Brian, to Washington, to California, to Maryland, to Jersey, everywhere I know, they all had peaceful protests. So that's a big thing I wanted to say, because a lot of people have that misconception that all these things are crazy and all these things involve looting. They're actually going out of the way to stop these looters. If you watch the videos, they'll say, no, peaceful, because people try to get out of hand and they'll try to stop them and reel them in. But again, a lot of times what we talk about is the media, what the media is putting forward as opposed to what's really happening. And people get latch on to, but the media showing this, the media showing that. And that's not what's important as opposed to what's actually happening. You know what I mean?
All right. So really quick, hold on, Carolyn. I gotta have to talk a little bit because he has been uber patient and he wasn't able to stay past 6:30. So Carolyn, give me a split second. Sean, thank you for that. Last comment back to Brian. I use the reference like this. When we have to be nice to each other for the purposes, look at it as a gay man. Look at what people used to do in terms of trying to get people to not be gay anymore. They would try to yell the gay way, pray the gay. Did that ever work with any human being known to mankind? So if somebody feels differently than you by yelling at them and belittling them and telling them that they're lying, they're never going to see your side. They're just going to be further and further apart. And that's not the way we try to have conversations. Right. That's why I've kind of put you in a metaphorical timeout by muting you for a bit. Drew, you are on. I had to handcuff you. All right, Drew, you're up.
Hey, there's a lot. So I'll talk pretty fast anyway, but I'll try to speed up a little. So there's a few things to address. As far as Black Lives Matter, just as a slogan, a hashtag, a movement, whatever, 100%, support it. The way I look at it is we look at Black Lives Matter. If there's anything else, we talk about breast cancer, whatever else. No one goes to a breast cancer thing and says, what about other types of cancer? Nobody does that. We're respectful in that manner. When it's any other thing that gets done, we show respect in that manner. And the idea is it's Black Lives Matter too, like Black Lives Matter as well. Not Black Lives Matter more than any other person or any other thing. We recognize there are, and those people, they try to say it doesn't exist. There are systematic issues. There is systematic racism that has lingered on. So I think it's gotten better. We still have things that are still happening. You can't say, slavery was X amount of years ago, or we had the civil rights movement, or some people even said, hey, you have a black president. What are you complaining about? There are still things systematic that happen in everyday life. I have a right to, wherever I decide to go and purchase a home, walk with my family, I have a right to do that as an American, the same right as anyone else. And we don't do, and I think one thing I look at is we don't look at women, for example. I think most people would agree that there are different, we look at privileges, different people have different privileges. And we can say, I think most people, honestly, though people struggle with white privilege and things like that and don't believe that exists, I get it. But most people can understand that there are certain privileges that a man has versus a woman, right? There are certain things that a woman has to think about before she leaves the house every single day, before she goes out, what she wears, all these different things that she has to be cognizant of. And the same thing exists, not to the same degree, and there are different levels of different things, but those things exist. We have to acknowledge them. We can't say that, discount someone else's experience and say that it doesn't exist and say that's not real. You need to listen to people when they say that they are having issues, they're being oppressed. Right now, people are talking about save our children. They're talking about, children that and caught up in sex trafficking and things like that. No one says, hey, there are adults being trafficked too. Nobody's talking about that because it's a horrible, awful thing to say. So that's that piece. just going to pivot real quick to the organization. I agree a lot with Cash and other people with regards to the organization, Black Lives Matter. I think one of the things about it, if we look at these movements, we look at these organizations and how they've kind of morphed, there are a lot of things that have been tried. We look at the civil rights movement, we look at Martin Luther King and kind of what his approach was. The peaceful approach, he still got the shit kicked out of him and he got killed for his efforts. We look at what the Nation of Islam and kind of their thing. We look at the Black Panther Party and kind of their approach. Black Panther Party is very centralized. They say, these are our leaders. This is what we're doing. Here's our location. Here's what we're setting up. Here's our headquarters. They come in, they bomb, they kill everyone. I think Black Lives Matter and kind of their approach is saying, we're going to try not to make those same mistakes as we've made in the past. We want to make sure that's why we don't have a central, like one leader. We want to have, it's going to kind of morph and different people are going to do their thing. You don't have this hierarchy. Like I've been involved in NAACP for a number of years. You don't have that hierarchy where you have a chapter who reports to, a state, to a regional, up to national. You don't have that hierarchy, those commands, people respond to all those things. And there's benefits and dangers in doing that. I think the benefits is it allows you to be mobile, it allows you to respond to different things in different areas in different ways. The struggle with that is you lack that accountability. You lack that thing where you can say, all right, well, I can start a Black Lives Matter chapter right now and say whatever I want to say. I can say, oh yeah, I represent Black Lives Matter and this is how I feel. And someone can go and say, oh, well, Drew, Black Lives Matter. And so that's how we represent and think of Black Lives Matter. So that's kind of the challenge, right? So they're able to be nimble, but I think there is that struggle in having accountability and being able to say, anyone can kind of speak and do whatever they want. I don't discount Brian's experience as he's talking about Black Lives Matter in North Carolina, aligning with Antifa. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying that that's not the case, because even here in Seattle, there's two Black Lives Matters chapters or what have you in Seattle, based off of, one person was doing one thing and then someone else was like, I'm doing my own thing over here. So you can't really say what one thing is doing versus another. And it's hard, right? Because you talk about these different organizations and they start off, with really well, and they have a mission, they have a hashtag, whatever. And then eventually you want to grow, and eventually money gets involved. Money changes everything, always. Anything that you're doing, when you get people on a national platform and different things are happening, things change and things can morph into other things. We even look at, there's a point I had with morphing and money. So even looking at the civil rights movement, there's a whole thing, and I was watching where people didn't like the March on Washington. The March on Washington started off as kind of like a grassroots, we're going to go down here, we're going to march, we're not happy, and things like that. And next thing you know, you have Kennedy and all these other people coming in. Next thing they're organizing speakers, they're making it this, they're deciding what banners can be had and all those different types of things. And so that's, things can get morphed, things can be politicized and things like that. So I am 100% behind the intent of it. I do have qualms with some of the organizational things because of sometimes the lack of organizational things. And that's kind of like having a startup company. Everybody hates, corporations and things like that. They're like, hey, we're going to work for startups. We have no rules, do what we want. And it's like, yeah, I really wish we had some rules right now. So just real quick, and then I'll pass on and we can jump to something else.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
I'll pass on. I'll hang on.
Really quick, money doesn't make everything bad. That's not true. Money literally makes bad things worse. If your intentions are pure, bad money can help things. I don't think money.
No, I said money changes.
He didn't say bad. He didn't say bad.
You're right. My bad. All right, Cash.
Okay.
Hey, Carolyn, Brian, Yosra, and I don't know if we're going to get to politics today. I think this is where we're going to end it, and we're going to have a minute at the end.
Okay, fine. Well, look. Here's my thing. I need y'all to listen to me real close because I've been listening to everybody. And let me tell you guys all, I love y'all. Every one of you guys on here right now, I love y'all. All of you guys are brilliant people. And I love your perspective. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing it. Now, let me learn you something real quick, y'all, if you allow me to, please. When Black Lives Matter, let me tell you the problem Let me tell you the problem that we have in our country right now that we're facing because of Black Lives Matter. First off, we know what Black Lives Matter is started out for and what it stood for. We know that. And now when you go on there and you read their mission statement, they tell you what they stand for, what they want to do, which is ultimately destroy the nuclear family. They don't support black men. That's number one. Secondly, the reason, now you notice when Black Lives Matter first started, people agreed with it. People were on board. Even to this day and age, you still have white people that support Black Lives Matter. Why is that? Because they agree that Black Lives Matter like the rest of the nation does. But you have people like me and other people that are white but like me and say, well, I don't like Black Lives Matter now because of the things that they're doing, which is the looting, which you could say, well, that's not Black Lives Matter, but it is because the leader came out and said it. The leader herself came out on the news and told these people to do these things, okay? That's another key point. Now, the problem is everyone agrees that Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives Matter is causing a division in the country, okay? They're causing the division. We all agree that not all cops are good. Not all cops are bad, okay? Why don't we just attack these things together? Because it's obviously Mexican, black, and white that stand with Black Lives Matter and on the opposite end, but agree with what Black Lives Matter says, just disagrees with the organization. So what's that leave? The issues. What's the issues? Well, we have a justice reform problem. That's what we're arguing about, the justice system. We have a crooked cop problem. We have a poverty problem. We have a police brutality problem. We have a bunch of these problems, but everybody is in it together. So why don't we leave Black Lives Matter behind? Because they've obviously left their own mission behind, and they're only causing chaos now, which a lot of people here do not agree with looting. I don't think that anybody here on this panel listening to you all sound intelligent. So I highly doubt that any of you agree with looting. I think that no one will agree with that. And when we talk about the protest, and we say, well, the protests were all the ones that you've seen were peaceful. True. That's the ones that you've seen. But what me and Anthony do, we were streaming live. We had live streams where it wasn't peaceful. And yes, some people were saying, hey, don't do that, keep it peaceful. But then other people were like, no, fuck that, burn this shit down. You know what I'm saying? And then it goes into, okay, where we go back to the leadership. The leadership should come out and say, look, we're not for this. We're not out here to do this. The same way we just did on this panel when Brian started going off on Yosra. And we say, yo, attack the issue, not each other. We're not here to combat each other. We're not here for this. A leader would do that. And as we lead the show, that's what we did. Just like with Black Lives Matter, the leader should come out and say, yo, we ain't with this. We're Americans and we're fighting against this. We're not fighting against each other. We're not fighting against these people for this. We're fighting against this injustice. And we can all agree on the injustices. No one stood with what happened to George Floyd and what that cop did. Nobody. Only thing that argument said was, well, George Floyd shouldn't have got the treatment that he got after he passed away because of the life that, you get what I'm saying? So that's where you get the divide at. But no one agreed with the cop. And in the same sense, we will argue about the things that are going on in this country based off of a racial point of view. And that's what it turns into, is a racial point of view. It's like, oh no, white people feel like this. So then you got Black Lives Matter, people that are in Black Lives Matter, even white people inside Black Lives Matter, telling white people they need to give their stuff to black people.
Oh,
and then, right. Here we go. Here's what we're gonna do. Are you good, Cash? Can I pass it over?
Real quick, all I'm trying to say is my ending point is this. We all are agreeing. We are all in agreement. Black Lives Matter. We are all in agreement that some things in this country do need to change. We are all in agreement that we need to put a microscope on bad police. That's all good and well. But why do we have to put race in it and say Black Lives Matter? Because me being somebody that's from where they talking about, I'm from the hood. I was a dope dealer. I used to gangbang. I did all of that just up until a little bit ago. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need no help. I don't need nobody to tell me, yo, you need help. We got to save your life because you matter. I know I fucking matter. I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but don't tell me that I matter more than my mother or more than my sister or more than my children just because of the color of their skin. Don't tell me that I need reparations, that I got to get some special kind of treatment. That insults me as a man. I don't need no special treatment. I go get it on my own. I've been getting it on my own since I was 14 years old. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do, all right, from this point, as we're continuing with the Black Lives Matter, we're going to go 1 minute each for this order. We're going to go Carolyn, Jay, Rashawn, back to Brian. And then Yosra, you can actually wrap it up with Drew. All right, Carolyn, go ahead. 1 minute.
Okay, my perspective on Black Lives Matters. In the beginning, it was a really cool thing. We were all against, what happened and wanted to see justice. And then it got very convoluted and it was hijacked by a different organization. It no longer, to me, as I view it, when I see it, and I've watched these, I've been obsessive. I could write a book about it from day one with Raz and Chaz, and then turn to Chop and all the leaders within there, and Converge Media, Rapid, Unicorn. I watched them all, right, left, right. And there's a lot of violence going on. And what happens is it holds a whole different meaning now. And the values that it's putting out there doesn't align with the majority of Americans. It truly doesn't. If I know that we're holding on to this hashtag Black Lives Matter, I would love to see it pull away and call the movement something else. Differentiate it from this Antifa, domestic terrorism type of a thing. And you would see people come together of all colors to support that, right? But it no longer aligns with patriots, with Americans. It just doesn't align. If you, like Cash said, you go on the website, it's about the breaking down of the nuclear family. It's about all these things that don't serve humanity. And to take us real quick to another level, you have this oppression thing they talk about, right? The easiest people to keep oppressed are people who live in a victim mentality, right? They are the easiest ones to keep in oppression. Your oppressor does not want to see you rise. It does not want to see you get independent. It does not want to see you become self-sufficient. We all have gifts and talents and strengths and God-given things that if we can just help at that level, we are never, ever, ever going to fix this, rehashing the same story over and over. You cannot fix a problem in the same energy it was created. Albert Einstein, genius. You cannot fix it. Doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results is insanity. So you have to focus on how can we move forward? How can we make a shift? Yosra, in the beginning, when you were talking, it's okay. How can we shift this perspective to welcome more people in? That's what Brian loved about Trump's side. He felt welcomed. He felt included. He felt supported. He felt accepted, right? So there's this vision going on that it's the exact opposite of unity, no matter how we look at it.
Yeah. Thank you, Carolyn. Rashawn, go for it.
Oh, shit. Well, I think one thing I wanted to readdress and go back to was what Cash just said. He kind of rehashed what he said before, he just kind of doubled down. Not saying in a negative way, but like the main thing I was bringing up before is with the organization and separating that from the movement, the actual movement and what it was doing. Because what happens is people just end up focusing on, we don't like the organization. And why is it fair to the organization to say, since it's become, sullied, that now we have to change what it is because somebody else said that it wasn't good anymore. The movement isn't good anymore because the organization is bad. So now we got to change it and make it, I don't know what else.
How about just take it?
I mean, Carolyn was just saying that as far as we should change it to something else, but like, why do we have to change it to something else? Just
because it's not working.
Somebody else from outside.
Because that has been what's been dividing everyone. That's the reason why.
Who decided that? That's what I'm saying.
You can look at the world, my brother. You don't have you just said it out of your own mouth. You just said that the organization has become sullied.
I was responding to you saying that the organization was bad and focusing on that. And I'm saying, don't focus on the organization because like you said, we all agree that it's good. The movement is good. You said that, right?
No, I didn't say that the movement is good. I said that the people.
The people
of that movement. I agree with the people.
Tomato. But what I'm saying is you agree with what the idea was, the original seed. So that's what we need to focus on, not the trappings, the superficial things that go along with it.
I agreed until I learned that it wasn't true, is what I'm trying to say. I agreed until I learned that that's not true. The narrative that they push, like the George Floyds, there's not a lot of George Floyds. That's the narrative that they pushed in the beginning, that black people are being gunned down by police at an alarming rate. And it's not the case. White people get killed more than black people by the police. That's a fact.
The rate?
No, by numbers. If we just use the numbers of how many black
numbers are, the rate is different than the numbers because there's more. That's just how it works. That's math.
You're talking about per capita. That's different. Per capita is different.
even if you multiply, Rashawn, if you take the numbers of listed killings, and yes, the numbers from an actual percentage standpoint, the numbers are actually per capita higher in the Black community by about 2.5 times. Not cool. At the same time, if you look at the total numbers, if you were to take those 9 murders that are listed and you say that they're underreported, cool. You put it up to 100. Say that it's 10 times the number that we see. That's still less than innocent people are killed. Innocent Black people are killed in the bad neighborhoods in Chicago, in New York, in all these different things. So go ahead, Rashawn. I'll let you answer.
Right.
And then we have to go to
that's
Jay.
fine, but I'm saying, like, okay, if there's 12 people in the room, 2 are Black and the rest are white, and you kill 1 of the Black people, it's kind of more impactful than if you kill 5 of the white people, right?
And why aren't we doing nothing in the hood?
Right.
Are we not doing anything in the hood?
Black Lives Matter, right? I know I do. I do my part. I know I do.
A million neighborhood watches, organizations that are trying to stop the violence. I mean, in the 90s, there was like a whole stop the violence movement. Like, that's another narrative that's pushed way too hard. Like, there's so many things going on in the hood to try to stop this.
And that's all right. And that's the issue also. And I won't get too far into it. I'm going to take 20 seconds on it. The whole thing about, and I know there is all these things going on in the neighborhoods. I've talked to Curtis about it. I've talked to a friend of mine, Rico. It happens all the time. Problem is, why are we then so focused on the media that focuses only on what is being done by Black Lives Matter? So that is why this whole conversation is about all of us realizing we all have the exact same damn goal, but something like Black Lives Matter as a movement is starting to bastardize the overall concept of becoming better, because it's pointing out such a small sect of society and a sect of a problem that it's causing us to get super angry at each other. It's causing Brian to want to kill Yo-Yo. It's causing Rashawn to get mad at Cash. It's causing Jay to get up there, and I don't know who he's mad at, but he's probably mad at him. I don't know. But all right.
Jay smiling. Jay smiling.
So, all right, Jay, Brian, here we go. Finally, sorry.
I just want to call out a couple of things that I perceive to be red herrings that I've kind of caught along the way. First of all, you guys are right about the total number. You know, you look at the data of unarmed killings or police killings, et cetera. Obviously, Rashawn's right about per capita as well. Both numbers are right. I think the red herring, though, in the room is that, you know, when Black Lives Matter is calling for police reform and all of these different cities around the country are calling for police reform, they're not calling for police reform only for Black people. They're calling for police reform overall. So if we want to sit there and point out the fact that more white people and more Hispanics get killed by police officers, okay, fine. They're calling for police reform. So we're not only focused on African Americans getting killed by the police, we're focused on everybody getting killed by the police. That's one red herring. Second red herring I wanted to call out and point out was this idea that
Jay, are we as a group in here, the people watching, are we focused on police brutality across the board, or is that everybody? Because I don't think that's everybody. I don't think that's Black Lives Matter, and I don't think that's the news.
They only show up when a Black man gets killed by the police.
I think
that's the whole thing.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I agree that that's how the movement started. That's obviously where the movement started and where the conversation started from. My only point is, it's not as if they're only demanding police reform as it relates to alleged Black suspects or alleged Black, you know what I mean? Police reform is police reform is police reform. All right. So, I mean, they're trying to reform. The idea is to reform the police. So that's, again, I just think I personally think it's a red herring, both in this conversation and overall. And I'm happy that I think that. Secondly, I think that the media gets too much blame. I think that what it does is it takes the personal responsibility off of us. Social media, to me, has way more blame than the traditional media. I don't know how many of you guys are watching the news every night, or how many of you guys are, logging into the New York Times first thing in the morning. I know I go to my social media channels first, and it's the shit that we share and the stuff that we comment and the things that we retweet, that we have way more responsibility than we're giving ourselves discredit for. I think we blame the mainstream media, the right-wing media, the left-wing media more than their fair share. They are culpable for sure, but I think that collectively we're more culpable than the media is, because we're the ones sharing bullshit, and we're the ones arguing, and we're the ones trying to change people's minds in the wrong way, which is the whole point of discussions like this, which I'm thankful for. The last thing I just wanted to point out, the biggest red herring to me, look, I find Antifa to be childish anarchists. You know what I mean? They live in their mother's basements. Calling them terrorists is such a repeated, silly talking point. I'm sorry. These are not terrorists. Are you scared of Antifa? I'm certainly not scared of Antifa. It's right there in the name, terrorist. This is not a domestic terrorist organization. It's a bunch of idiots breaking windows and looting and hijacking an organization. To give them the credibility of a domestic terrorist organization, to me, is the definition of insanity. They're just not. It's not a terrorist organization. If you're not afraid of them, if they're not causing terror, that's not a terrorist organization. I don't care if Black Lives Matter in certain cities is thrown down with them or not. They're not terrorists. I don't enjoy them. I don't side with them. But to call them terrorists is an overcorrection.
So
domestic terrorists.
This is going to be a perfect time for Brian to come in, and I'm going to give an example on how to respectfully disagree. Jay, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. They are not just childish people. They are. That's part of their behavior. But by definition of a terrorist organization, and you're about to hear Brian. And Brian, I just when you talk about your story, just be calm and don't get mad at Jay. He's not lying. He just doesn't understand. So let him understand more of your feelings on it. But ultimately, if an organization is destroying property, kicking people in the head, making them unconscious, people dying. I mean, and that actually isn't really even Antifa. That's just the riots that they cause and start. It's like a match point. When we saw after George Floyd died, it was the riots at night were not because there was 3,000 bad black people that were rioting. It was because there was 30 Antifa that started an explosion. They just because they're 30 weak and out of their basement doesn't mean they can't start mass violence. They literally create a mob mentality and create destruction, death, murder, explosion, fire, damn it, all of the above. So that by definition, they're more dangerous than somebody living in their damn basement. Brian, I'm gonna let the beast out of the cage. I want you to calm. I want you to be calm. All right, Brian, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I've been unmuted. First, I'm going to say to Jay that, Jay, let me tell you something. They are domestic terrorists. When I came out as a gay man supporting President Trump, all of a sudden, I had Antifa groups from across this nation start sending me death threats. I received death threats for 3 years. All of a sudden, then some local freaks decided that it was going to be on their agenda to come to my home. Do you know what it's like to have people come to your home in the dead of night, slash your tires on 3 cars, bust out your windows, tell you that they're going to kill you, put your mother's business address up online that is still online? Anyone can go to Charlotte Antifa and look at a pinned post that Facebook says is not a violation of their. Listen, I'm talking.
Hold on, Brian. Count down. Just you're about to go again. Hold on. Brian, go ahead. There you go. You're good. You're good. Go.
Okay, he was the one talking over me, so you should have muted him instead of me. But I will go back to saying that they put my mother's business address up on their website, and Facebook still says today that is not a violation. Go to Charlotte Antifa Facebook page and look at the post about me. But I'm going to tell you, they are a domestic terrorist organization. They want to destroy people's lives, their jobs, their property. They are domestic terrorists. So you need to check yourself on that. Now back to Yorosa. I did not mean to personally attack you, but the reason that I called you out is that you and I both are from North Carolina. And I will say that you are lying. I'm not going to call you a liar, but I will say that your facts are lies. You know as well as I do the Antifa presence and the Black Lives Matter presence. They're intertwined in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area where you live. They do the violence that apparently people like you do not get out there and have the balls to do. You encourage it because you embrace Antifa. I know.
All right, Brian, you did it again. You did it again.
Yo, listen, wait. Yo, he's just passionate, y'all. I
know.
You got to understand, he's been through some pain, man. And I get it, but bro, you gotta really chill and understand we don't attack people here. We don't. We can disagree respectfully, but you don't. She doesn't agree with them. She does not align herself with them just because she has a different truth. Does not mean that she aligns herself with them. Okay? Please, you got to stop attacking her. I understand how you feel, brother. I feel you. I respectfully disagree with a lot of the things that I've heard today. You know, but you cannot attack her. She's a guest down here, so that means she's family to all of us. So she cannot be attacked down here. There's got to be a safe place for her like it is for you. How would you feel if somebody jumped out here right now and started calling you a liar and said none of that shit happened to you? You'd be upset. You know what I'm saying? So please don't do that to her again. All right? Go ahead, Yosra.
Is saying is a lie.
Okay. Yep. Nope, didn't work. Okay. It was worth a shot. Brian, you got to stop saying she's lying. Yosra, go ahead.
Brian, you don't know me. I don't know you. I don't know your experiences. I respect you. I didn't vote for Trump. I still respect you because you voted for Trump. You found something that you identify with and respect. So I appreciate it if you'd respect me in return, because I think I have pretty big balls, maybe even bigger than you, because you keep just bringing out the same cards. So we don't have to approach that. All I want to do is stand for something I feel passionately about. And I think that is the initial root of the movement. I'm not trying to speak for anyone. I'm not lying. I don't stand for Antifa, so don't try to stereotype me. I am a woman that stands for what I stand for, and I want to follow for that, and we can agree. It is what it is. I still respect you.
So here's the deal. Unfortunately, I know Brian is very upset, and he's definitely messaging in the back. I want to treat this as a learning moment for whoever is watching, and hopefully for Brian. Brian, I've never had your experience. Rashawn, I know, was messaging in the side and talked about Black people, especially depending on where you've been from, you've dealt with some stuff. Cash hasn't. He's dealt with his own life. He hasn't dealt with people terrorizing him and all these different things. Rashawn has backstories of things that have happened in his life that are similar, but that does not mean that you can get angry with people. So, Brian, I first off want to say I love you for who you are and what you've what you have been through, not probably been through, because you can see it coming through as your truth. But the key and the greatest thing I can try to teach you, or I don't want to teach, this isn't a parent-child relationship. This is two people talking together. That is your mission, is to inform people about what you've gone through and what you've been through. And by doing it the way that you're doing is creating more hate, which is the last thing you want. If hate is what you want, then you're not painting a very good picture, which means for now it's time to pull him off the screen. Cash.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to talk to him and tell him, listen, man, just because you know something differently than she does, maybe she is lying to you, but maybe that's her truth. Maybe she doesn't believe that. Well, whatever it is that he knows, maybe that's not something that she knows yet. You know what I'm saying? If I learn math and I learned that 1 + 1 = 4, and I was taught that, and I see that, and on paper that's what I draw, and you know that 1 + 1 = 2, and you say no, you're a liar. You're telling people that, but that's what I know. That's what I've learned. You just tell her she's misinformed as far as you know, and that's how you create tolerance. Because if you attack her, you're defeating the whole purpose of what we try to do here. We don't attack each other. I disagree with a lot of the things that I heard here today. We do not do that. That's not what we do here, Brian. So, what's his name, Brian? Brian, that's not what we do here, brother. And I love having you on here. I love your passion, and I'm sorry for whatever it is that you've been through that makes you feel so strongly the way that you do, that you got to come at her like that. But first off, we don't attack people like that, and we definitely don't talk to women like that. Not here. Not while I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So, look, I love you, bro, and I would love to have you back on. If Russo want to bring you back on, that's great. I hope that you could be cool, brother.
All right. Let's see. Drew, I think I owe you some time. Yosra, I appreciate your patience on that more than you know. So thank you. And again, Brian, I know you're off the backstage. You left. I feel like you and I and Cash maybe need to have a chat with us three and talk about things and see how because I know you can make a big impact in a community as a Trump supporter that wants to create change. But the way you're going about it, I can see why it might be causing more turmoil than good, and we want to help. So, Drew, you're up, my friend.
Just to quickly echo off that, definitely want to make sure as a community, it's kind of, it's not like Brian, just wrap your arms around them, because there's obviously some pain, some hurt going on there, and those are it's opportunity for people to get radicalized and just dwell on that hatred. But to pivot off of that, just going to what I believe as far as everyone here, as far as Black Lives Matters or whatever else, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to hashtag it, whatever, if we're accepting the fact, if we say, okay, the media is doing this, doing that, this, that, and the third, cool. Like, it's not cool that they're doing it, but it's, we recognize that, we understand that. If we look at different things that are being involved and whoever's money is involved and whatever else, okay, but let's get down to the purpose, right? Get down to what we're talking about, whether it be inequality, or we're just talking about, reform of police just in general, and how we and reimagining, policing, right? Whether it be white, black, whoever. That's the thing a lot of people focus on is so-and-so had a criminal background, or he was doing this, whatever. The police job, they're not supposed to, kill people who are guilty either. It doesn't matter what they're doing. That's not their job. But to pivot off of that, kind of want the takeaway here is, as it's going to be like a huge generalization. So if I miscategorize anyone, I apologize. I just want to run through this real quick. Like, what I want is for someone, if I'm going through something, like if I'm telling you as a Black man, I'm going through something, I want everybody that's here, everybody that's watching this, everyone in the United States, everyone in this country, to show up and support me. To me, that's what Black Lives Matter is about. Same way, if Brian is here and Brian's going through stuff, and whatever he's going through as a gay man, if he's going through some stuff, we go and we show up for Brian as a gay man, whatever he's going through, whatever issues that he's having. As the women that are here, if women are going through things, if women are whatever they may be dealing with, inequalities, to dealing with, misogyny, all those different things, we show up for women. Hispanics, whatever's going on with people, anyone who's marginalized, anyone who's having issues, anyone who's having a problem, a struggle, we rally around them and show up for it. If we're saying that there's this big, ominous something that is causing division, that is trying to separate us, that is trying to do all these things to hurt us as people, the thing to do is not to say, oh, well, they're doing this, so I'm not going to support that, or whatever. The thing is to block all that out, right? If we look at George Floyd and all these different things, and why are these things happening? I'll tell you my experience with regards to Antifa being here in Seattle is I was walking down the street with my daughter, and in a Capitol Hill neighborhood, and there's a crowd coming up the street. I was like, oh, there's people coming up the street. Someone walked up and said, hey, you should probably go the other way. There's a whole thing, there's people coming up the street, and police are coming up behind them. You probably don't want to be here with your daughter. I'm nosy, so I went to a safe spot up in the QFC to look down and see what's going on. These people are coming up the street and they're like, trashing this, trashing. They were knocking over the little things, the newspapers in them. There was on the Starbucks, there was someone had written on the Starbucks, like, break me. And they sure enough came up and they broke, I have it on video. They came up and they broke the windows of the Starbucks, and they went and destroyed this and then moved up the street, the same thing. And a police car is coming up the street with a megaphone yelling, disperse, disperse. If they wanted to stop the looting, the pillaging, whatever else, they could easily do it. All you had to, if they had one Starbucks, for example, you had a cop just standing outside Starbucks, nobody's doing anything to that Starbucks. Nobody's doing anything to that Starbucks. That's not that, like, the things that are allowed to happen, to me, if we look at it together as collective Americans, say, well, there's something that's happening. There's something nefarious going, whatever it is, and recognize, okay, what are they trying to accomplish? Why are we letting that happen? They can't do anything to us. But if we show up to support one another through whatever, there's nothing that anybody, whatever it is, if we recognize that there's something nefarious, then why are we allowing it to fester? Why are we allowing that to be a thing? Instead of saying, all right, let's actually be united. Let's be the change. Let's say, all right, if you're saying Black Lives Matter, like, I believe people. I believe victims. If someone says a rape or whatever, I believe you until I have a reason to do otherwise. If someone's yelling, something's happening, I will run to support them until I have reason to believe otherwise. And that's the pivot. That's what we take going forward from this, is anything that is going on with anybody's issue is it's like putting out fires, like houses on fire. And I know you've seen that thing all the time, this is the house that's on fire. Let's put that fire out. If another one pops up, we'll put those fires out. And then eventually get to the root and figure out, oh, there's someone running around putting out fires, starting fires. So that's the thing. That's my whole takeaway. Is, I appreciate everyone's perspective. A lot of disagreements, and I think people see things different ways. I think based off of where and how you were raised, and where you live currently, and how you look at the world. Some people look at their several mile radius, which a lot of people never leave the several mile radius. And there are things that we talk about, how you view things and who you're voting for and all that kind of stuff. They think how it impacts where it is that they live, and I understand it. That's why I have nothing against Trump supporters and Trump voters, because I understand that he speaks to things that are important to them. And I think there's also other people who look at things a little more on a more broad spectrum. And again, it depends on like where you live, and seeing that there are issues that are beyond us. They're beyond us. And so that's the whole thing. Everyone has a different perspective. But I think if we listen to each other and we rally behind anyone and that's me. If your cause is just, man, if you are being oppressed, if you are having any issue, doesn't matter what the situation is, you shout for me, I will come and support you. So that's my whole thing. I believe we're going to wrap up here shortly. But thank you for having me on. I like to be on when there's,
Thanks,
a few less people. We have some more time to talk and really.
Yeah, I think I might set it up. Yeah, I do something a little different. So here's what we're gonna do. Cash is gonna have to go, so he's gonna wrap up his thoughts. We're not gonna get too much into politics. We're gonna have everybody talk for a minute to a minute and a half about what they're voting for. I think we're gonna have to do a full show next week on that, and we'll invite if we can invite all of you guys back, and I think I can. I'm gonna go ahead and just set a timer. Good talk. Yeah. Cash, go ahead.
Okay, a couple things. Well, first off, when you were just talking right now, my brother, I do not disagree with you on some of those things. But one thing that you said made me think, why, if that's the whole case of show up to support each other, then why don't we just do that as Americans? And why does it have, that's exactly my whole point.
That's a good question.
That's what I'm trying to do. And that's my whole message of what I'm saying is forget Black Lives Matter, because it's destructive at this point. It's just destructive. So we show up to support any type of police brutality. We show up to support any kind of injustice. We show up to support any kind of racial hate. We show up to support anything that the American people need or is gonna get. We support each other as Americans, and that's the whole point of Streetlights and Be the Change. Support each other as Americans, because we are not divided by color. We are not divided by politics, as you can see today. Even though we have a difference of opinion, I love you. I will fight for you. I will stand with you. I will never allow nothing to happen to you if I am with you. I'll jump in front of you because I love you. You get what I'm saying? All these different groups, KKK, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, whatever the hell else, whatever groups there are out there that divide. And I throw Black Lives Matter in there because it has become a divider. Okay, that's the reason why I throw it in there. We got to stand for each other as Americans, because injustices don't just happen to Black people. It's not only Black people that are born into poverty. It's not only Black people that were enslaved. It's not only Black people that get beat by the police. It's not only Black people that bad things happen to. Okay, that's my stance on it. Now, moving forward, or why I'm voting for Trump. Because like I just said, I believe in America. I believe in us. Trump has done more for this country as far back as with all my studies, more than any president since Lincoln. That's my stance. The opportunity zones, talk about what they call him a racist. But the man has a history of supporting Black people. He's gotten multiple awards for helping the Black community. He's gotten multiple shout outs by all these different rappers. He's gotten multiple love from all different types of communities. Lowest unemployment rate in forever. The dude is a uniter, not a divider, regardless of what they try to say. He's doing a great job with America. The tariffs that he put on China, the immigration thing that he's passing, people think, oh, he hates Mexicans. No, he hates pedophiles and child traffickers and human traffickers. That's what the whole purpose for the wall is. Y'all got to do that research. You think I'm lying? The dude stands for America more than any president that I've ever seen in my lifetime and in a history book next to Lincoln. Talk about loving or Black Lives Mattering. He's shown that Black Lives Matter probably more than any president that I've ever seen. And not just that. Not just that. Dude's a bona fide man. Speaks his mind. I love that because I speak my mind. I say whatever the fuck I want to, when I want to, with no apologies. And I love that about him. You feel me? Don't let the media confuse y'all, man. Don't let them show you a clip and say that this man is this or this man is that. It's not the case. Look at what he's done. We got to look at facts, not our feelings. Understand that they're always trying to confuse us. They're always trying to divide us. They're always trying to mislead us. Okay? Dude is cold. I ain't got nothing but love for Trump. And in 2020, I'm going to be voting for him to be the president of the United States. And I hope to God that he gets it. And one more thing I'm going to leave you guys with. And this is why I say don't trust the media and why I dislike the left. Not a Democrat, the far left. To me, there's a difference between a Democrat and a far left. Okay? And the reason is they shut down the world over COVID. You can't go out and do a damn thing. But if you want to go fuck up the country, you want to go rob, you want to go loot, you want to go protest, you want to go bash the police, you want to scream Black Lives Matter till you blue in the face, go right ahead. COVID doesn't apply to you. And that's done by the left. That's my stance. I love you guys, and I really appreciate you having the courage to come on and first off speak. Because I know, you know, I ain't the easiest guy to talk to sometimes. But I love y'all, and I'm always willing to listen. I'm always up for a discussion. And I hope that none of you all take anything that I've said personal, because it's not. This is here to gain understanding. This is all I wanted to do, is gain understanding, to hear both sides. And I appreciate you all, every one of you. Thank you, straight up. Yostra, I told you I had your back, girl. Dinner?
Yostra's next. All right, thanks, Cash.
Hey, I'm out of here, guys.
Take it easy. Love you, brother.
Wait. Unite. Don't fight. Be a street light, because only you can be the change that you want to see in the world. Peace out, baby.
All right. Here's before we get into the quick, and we're gonna have our little political pitch. And I know a lot of people on the outside are hoping that there was more Republicans in the group besides Cash. And I do want to get to Curtis. Curtis isn't gonna talk much politics. He's just gonna kind of recap what we've done. But before we move fully onto that, because we're really not going to talk much about it. We're at 2 hours. We're not going to go much past, because I want this group to come back. And Yoster, I want you to know that I've gotten multiple text messages for me to somehow virtually reach out and hug you, because that was ridiculous how you got attacked. So that they're there. So this is something I have not shown since one of the first shows. And we've talked about our different backgrounds. And I'm going to unmute everyone for a split second. And shush bucket. All right, so I want everybody. Curtis, I'm going to stab you. All right, everybody should be good. I want everybody to tell me what colors they see on this dress. Rashawn, what do you see? Rashawn, white.
I'm going to say white, though.
You see white and gold? Jay, what do you see?
I see blue and black.
Blue and black. Drew, what do you see?
Blue and gold.
Blue and gold? You weirdo. All right, Carolyn, what do you see? White and gold. Yo, what do you see?
White and gold. White and gold.
Curtis, what do you see?
That's my girl.
Bad style. White and gold.
What do you see?
White and gold.
Wow, that's okay. So typically the higher percentage is blue and black. I'm going to put it up one more time for everybody in the box. I know everybody likes to put this comment. So here's the fascinating thing, and I'm going to explain why this is important to this conversation. First off, I see white and gold. The dress is actually blue and black. The real dress, the actual photo, and everybody sees it differently. And this is an example of why things change based on our examples and our perspective. So the background of this image, the light in the background, triggers something in the human eye. It triggers the rods and the cones to see things differently based on a very, very thin line, which talks about our backgrounds. Our backgrounds, our environment, everything that we've been through in our life, all these different things are going to directly affect exactly how we see things and how we perceive the world around us. So expecting all of us to see the same thing is virtually impossible, because We all have different backgrounds. So again, part of the conversations we're having, we don't know what Brian's been through. He can tell us, but we haven't been in those shoes. We don't know what Yosra has been through. We don't know Rashawn's background. We don't know any of these different things, but we know that if we meet them with compassion and don't name call, we actually open ourselves up for conversation. And that's why Yosra even came on the other day, and that's why we came to an agreement. She probably hates me for having her on this one. I did not see that coming, Yosra. And I think there needs to be something said about your patience, your temperament. And I did see somebody's comment in the box talking about your smirk. And smirk is the greatest thing you could have done in that case because you couldn't talk back. So, Yosra, go ahead and give a talk, and I will talk later. I will end it with my economic reasons as well as personal reasons of why I'm voting for Trump. So to know that there is another Republican in the group, I've just outed myself. That'll be me. But Yo-Yo, you have reign to recap now, and since we're getting late, I'm going to go ahead and let this be your pitch as well as an exit, and that'll be for everybody, and we'll make our way around. And I thank everybody for being a part of this. Go ahead, Yo-Yo.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to point out I was very involved in the Black Lives Movement in my city. I was there physically. I saw the looters come later on, and then our response to that was putting up plywood boards and letting all the artists come out and paint something that unifies the whole city. So this city is incredible, and we don't have some weird secret war or anything. I'm sure there are Antifa people out there, but I try not to stereotype because I don't like being stereotyped. And I'm voting for Biden. I don't think it's a coincidence that the division happened during his reign. I think he pushed people towards that. I myself have felt very excluded from everything he stands for, and I feel much more comfortable and safer as a Muslim woman in America towards the left, towards the Democratic Party. And I want healthcare reform. Thank you.
All right. And Yosra, I would like to have a full, I didn't think that was going to go very long, but I would like to be able to actually have a full conversation with the group, maybe even split it up into two. I don't know. And actually talk because I think the key behind this is policies and what things you agree with. There was a recent Biden poll that came out that said, why are you voting for Biden? And 56% of those people voting for Biden said because it's not Trump. Out of that 8%, and this is a CNN poll. This isn't a Fox poll. This is CNN. And 9% said it was because of his policies. And I think that's very scary to think that we're strictly voting because we think one thing. And as we all know, we're not. And Drew did a piece earlier where he was like, I feel like people are manipulated. And I know he's not a Trump fan, but he's like, I think people are manipulated on the way they view him based on what they see. So if that's your snap judgment, we need to start learning about policies. And I know that you have a background and knowledge to know why you're voting a certain way. So I would love to have you back on. I will not put you in that situation ever again. And I apologize. Welcome to seeing Anthony again after 15 years.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. And you can stay on the screen. I'm just going to mute you. Curtis, I totally skipped you. Curtis, I want you to give a little thought, and then we're going to go ahead and go to everybody's piece. Because I've totally ignored Curtis for this whole episode.
No, it's fine. I'm sitting back taking notes. I mean, I'm gonna say one thing and then I'll come back at the end. But it's very nice to see everybody talking and see everything that's going on and see all the different points of views, because a lot of things I just sit back and listen to this one episode because we don't have Aaron, so I needed to be Aaron. I just don't look as good as him. I wanted to look at when we hear something, and I saw it a few times happen, and I always try to point it out, but I kind of reserved myself a little bit today because I was a mediator all through high school, peer mediator, which is funny, but I saw a lot of cases of people coming in, and exactly what it was is two people not understanding, he said, she said, and, on the brink of fighting. And in my school, you get kicked out of school for fighting, and so the last resort was to try to not have people fight, right? How do we come together? So I did that. A lot of these trainings with college did it. And the biggest thing is listening to what people say. And then it's, what did you hear them say, right? And that's something that I dealt with some friends, and somebody heard something I said on this show before and almost lost a friendship because they jumped to a conclusion and thought I said something because they heard one thing and then started to get offended. And not even just offended, but started to hear something different. And I said, go back to the transcript. And I have done that before. I know I have, because Anthony and I go back and forth, and he's like, well, you didn't hear what I said. But this is one thing that I sit back and I listen, and I hear when people say Black Lives Matter, right? And people go, well, I don't want anybody to say that your life matters more than mine. And this is the thing. When somebody says Black Lives Matter, the word more is not there. The other person listening to me has to create that and say, well, you can't call me lesser than. They didn't. They just said this matters, and it's really to them. And when I look at it and I go, okay, I could see why this person might say this matters to them, right? That's the issues for a lot of people. But then when I get people going against it and say, well, their life doesn't matter more than mine, they never said that. And so then I look back, and because I've gotten like that with other things before, as growing up with two brothers and a sister. And you sit back and you go, well, no, Mom, this matters too. And she goes, well, I never said it didn't matter, Curtis. I just this is what they said. And so when I sit back and I look at it and I go, okay, people are reacting to something that, if we really want to come together as Americans, right, and we fight together, there's like not a rift, but you have the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, and again, they have their connections and whatever. But if there's an Air Force person, they all say, I need more money. Air Force needs more money. Well, Air Force is more important. Marines are more important. We go in first. Army's there for, whatever. They have different things. I'm still learning about that a lot. It's actually really fascinating. But if a Marine saw an Air Force person down, or that their planes were getting shot at and they needed to get off, they would go and defend that position to get that plane off, because they know if that plane takes off, they're going to then provide cover for them. And so this is one thing that Jay said that I didn't even think of, and I kind of did, but I didn't. I want to give you credit, Jay. When you said that they asked for police reform is never going to be just for one person. Everybody's going to benefit. When Black people march for civil rights, did Black people the only ones who got civil rights? And I'm sorry, Anthony, I'm hitting the table. No, everybody started to get that, set a precedent to let everybody get that. And this is one thing I was listening to historians. I read a lot of history books. And I just want to see who was the one fighting for things that started to help women that weren't not just Black women, but white women, help people who were gay and straight, not straight, but LGBTQ, people who were immigrants, because everybody's an immigrant except for indigenous people and people who were brought here against their will. That's what people forget. And we're Americans. And one thing that gets me when people say I'm a patriot, you don't really know what patriot means if you can't fight for everybody in our group, right? This is a country. And so for me, it gets to the point where I look at and I go, people are taking something, and Black Lives Matter didn't define it or whatever else. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at how when somebody that's a person that just says that and other people get incensed, and it's like, why are you getting so upset about what this person is saying matters to them? If at the end of the day, we all want like Drew said, we come together to fight for each other. And I just sit back and I go, okay, well, people are getting offended about something that's not meant to be offensive, not going against Antifa and all the other crazy stuff that's going out there, because, I don't agree with that. I'm all about respect and respecting other people, even when they're mean to you, even when when they're coming at you. And I just sit back and I see it and I hear it all the time, and I hear it over and over and over. And I'm just going, I'm like, but guys, why are you getting offended? Why does that matter? Right? If they think something matters, if you think you matter and you think that all lives matter, then for me, and this is, again, this is my internal battle, not attacking anybody. I look at it and I go, well, as a Christian, because I'm a Christian, I don't know what everybody else is, and I respect everybody's religion and beliefs or whatever. I'm a Christian, and I go back to how I was, saved and everything else, and what it was for the grace and what Jesus means to me, and what his thing was to love your neighbor as yourself. And when I see people can't love their neighbor, and then I go, but do they truly love themselves? And that's when I get to the point of when people say Black Lives Matter and people get offended, I go, but do you truly love yourself, for you have to yell back, well, my life matters too? if you love yourself, you know your life matters, and we're going to go help somebody else to see their life matters. Not saying that it's wrong if you feel that way, if you're hurt. We want to address that too, because your life does matter. It's just, I really sit back and I go, well, if I'm supposed to love my neighbor as myself, and I see my neighbor in trouble, I want to love them. But if also I know that if we make change in the history of America, of the change that has happened has been pivotal because of Black people got free from slavery. Then they went and helped the poor whites in Wilmington, North Carolina, banded together, started to do their own political party. And then what happened? The media came in that was ran by the other people and it made them go the opposite. I tell you, people, read your history, because Black people and white people have not always been against each other. Black people have not always been held down. There's been times when Black people have risen up, have worked together with each other and other races and other people. And like things in the history, it has gotten chopped down by the government and by other people that did not want that to happen. So I'm just saying, as much as we yelled America and the government and all this and that, if we want to take all the good America has done, and we have done a lot of good. This country, I've been all, Anthony tell you, I've been all around the world. I will not move to another place outside of America other than, I won't say that. It's got beautiful beaches. But I'm just saying, I'm American 100% through and through. And I accept everything America has done good. But I also know America has done a lot of bad things and a lot of problems. And that's one thing I think a lot of people don't want to accept about America, because if you can't accept America has done bad things, atrocities, and you say, well, that's old, that's history, then you really don't love America. Because if I'm in a relationship and I meet a woman and I go, oh, you're not a virgin, you're not a virgin, you do this, you curse, you, and I look at your problems, do I truly love you? And I can't say I do, and I can't say that I'm better than you, because I have done and sinned my own self. So that's all I got to say is, before we throw these stones, and ain't nobody perfect here, make sure you perfect to throw that first stone. And if I think we did that, honestly, I think a lot of people would come together differently. Again, if you're not Christian, that just means, don't judge anybody, don't be mean, and because you ain't perfect either. That's all I'm saying. If you're not a Christian, and I still love you if you're not a Christian. Not because Jesus just told me to, but just because I can. And I don't love Anthony without his mustache.
Yeah, the circle is on. Got it.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. I'm out.
All right, Drew. I'm gonna have you go. Also, before we go to Drew, I'm just gonna really quick say something. In terms of what Curtis just said, in terms of Black Lives Matter, and as the whole conversation they had, there is this point where we have to come together and see what's more effective and how to start doing different things where we are actually helping each other and realizing that there just has to be dropped division. I think Curtis actually illustrated that completely perfectly. And that's a conversation we need to keep having. And to those of you guys in the box, last thing before I go to Drew, this was way more people and a little bit more difficult than I thought. I have not ever had anxiety a day in my life until this moment.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I've seen it.
You see, I have been, this was rough. This was very, very rough. So, Drew, you're up next. Carolyn, calm down. I'm just kidding. You've been incredibly engaging. Drew, go ahead, my friend. And also, directly to you, Drew, I love the way you speak. And that's why we need to have, and I think you and I need to have direct conversations together more so than I need to not have you as a friend on Facebook, I think, because I feel like we get into stuff that we don't agree with the way we say it. And I love having these conversations with you so much in person. And I think maybe I just need to unfollow, do something, because it's unhealthy, because I think you're brilliant when we have these conversations one-on-one. Go ahead, Drew.
I'm going to real quickly go through my history as quickly as I can to get to where I am currently. So about 15 years ago, I was working at the Hilton in Pennsylvania, and I was in my boss's office, and he had a thing in his office for the Libertarian Party, Pennsylvania. I had no idea what a Libertarian Party was. So I asked him about it. So what's the Libertarian Party? Gave me a quick rundown, said, here, look this up and blah, blah, blah. The convention was coming through the following week. He said, you should come down, check it out. Went down, checked it out. I'm sitting there with all these people. And I've been to conventions before. I've been to the Republican convention. I've been to the both state, Republican and Democrat in Pennsylvania. And it was completely different. These people that showed up in cars that I'm not even sure how they got them there. Everybody talked up and they talked about how many times they've been arrested, with pride, for doing different things and fighting against different things. I thought that was super cool. I was the only Black dude there. I was probably the only person under 20 that was there as well. By the end of this little convention, I'd been nominated and elected to the Judiciary Committee of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. And my experience growing up, again, I was in Central Pennsylvania, which if you know, Pennsylvania, it's a real thing. I then moved to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was when I first had my first interaction with someone who identified as being gay. And this was at 24 years old. Had that experience 2 years. And that's with someone who worked with my wife. We moved out to Seattle 7 years ago. Completely different experience coming from Pennsylvania to Seattle. And in Seattle, there are a lot of different things that, just in how people interact with one another, how people pay respect and honor the Duwamish land that we, occupy. That's a native tribe here. People also, they voluntarily pay a tax to the Duwamish tribe. Some people do. They just, I want to give to the Duwamish tribe and recognize that the livelihood that I have here is on stolen land. I was raised in a Baptist church. I went to Catholic school. I have friends, a lot of friends who are Muslim. I've studied a lot of different faiths and read different texts. And so all that to say, my personal political ideology, presidential elections are very difficult for me. I participate in every single election. Every 2 years, if there's a special, if there's a runoff, anything, I'm there, I'm voting. Presidential ones are difficult for me because I believe that the office of the president is not something that the job responsibilities are not something that I believe in. I don't believe in mass killing of people across the world. I don't believe in mass incarceration of Americans. There are just things that in the office that comes with part of the job that I just don't believe in. I don't believe that it matters in the grand scheme of things, in the sense that every 4 years we get a chance to correct ourselves one way or another. We go, there's a Republican in office, and we have lower taxes, which is always nice. But we sometimes sacrifice in one way or another, and then we have a Democrat that comes into office and taxes go up, and then we have healthcare that people get to enjoy. So the way that I look at it is the way I'm voting the way that I am is because I in my life and looking at my children that I have and the friends that I've accumulated over these 30 some years of life, friends that are gay, friends that are lesbian, friends that are Muslim, friends that are, even friends who are transgender, friends who are disabled, friends who are all over any walk of life you could possibly think of. And I look at the future of the world and of this country. And I recognize, as bad as things are right now with COVID, and people think COVID is, fake or whatever it is, or not that serious, look how we respond to that, and look how we respond to this. If there was something that was more serious, right? We can't if people don't go to work for a month, the entire country collapses. Our entire economy collapses. People are struggling because they can't take a day off of work in the midst of a pandemic because they don't have health insurance. Without a job, you don't have health insurance. There are things that you see every day. And when you live in a big city and you see both sides, you see people who are flourishing, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you see other people who are really, really, really rich, who are doing the best they can, but are also struggling. That's the things that I look at. And I look at the plans for being an inclusive country, not this American, this whole thing is really great if you are, in a generalization again, but if you are straight, if you are Christian, if you are, these things, like these, these hardworking people, then this is the country that is for you. I think we also have to look, and we have to have a country. If we're going to be the best country in the world, we have to have solutions. We have to have things that are for everyone. And you have to accept, I use this analogy, I have no problem with a sink or swim country, because that's what we are, sink or swim. But eventually you're going to have to do something with the dead bodies. You got to do something with those who have drowned. You're going to have to figure something out. Otherwise, you're not going to have any room to swim. So you're going to have to figure out, because as we move forward, We have introduction of things like 5G. We look at all there's so many jobs that we have in this country that we only have just for the sake of having jobs. That's it. We don't need so many of these jobs. So we have to have solutions. We have to have something. We can't have this thing, well, you just got to pick yourself by your bootstraps and get out there and work hard. And if you work hard, you get the things that you need. I get that. I understand that, Anthony. And I said to you, like, we have more people than we have useful jobs. And that's going to be a situation going forward. We have increasing populations. We're losing real estate because of climate change and things like that, not just here in the country, but across the world. So we have to have solutions for that. I am 100%. I know people that, I don't want to pay for someone else's healthcare, things like that. People are very selective about how they look at socialism and things like that. We have different things that we have that we already pay for. We support each other. Our military being one of them. Everyone loves the military. That's a social concept. Everyone pays for the military. That takes care of everyone. There are other things that we can put under that. And if we were to get to like a pure libertarian thing where it's like, hey, like, I don't want the government anybody's business. The government doesn't tell anyone who to get married. The government doesn't tell anybody who to do what. I get that. I'm for like having like a reduced budget, like not having a large government. I'm 100% for that. But if we're already spending the money, I think it's just allocating where we spend our money to. If we're saying we're already spending it, we already have the socialized thing, we're spending money on military, on on foreign aid to other countries. If we really want to talk about making America great and things like that, rein that in. Rein all that stuff in. Let's focus on the people here in this country, and then we can deal with other things going on. Let's make sure that every single person feels included, feels accepted, feels respected, has a voice. There's no slash Americans. You don't have to identify as a Muslim American, Black American, African American, anything else. We're all Americans. Everyone's treated equally. Everyone is welcome. Everyone has a place here. That's the country that I want. I feel as though, begrudgingly, I feel as though the Democrat platform is more in tune and more adept to handle those types of situations and handle this world that we're going into. We can't address future issues with doing things the same way we've always done them. Things we look at, trickle-down economics, does not work. It's not a thing. As people are struggling here right now, I get it. In theory, like we'd like to believe that if you cut taxes from people to give people jobs. I understand. I'm a big fan of.
Drew, I got to stop you real quick because again, we're getting really heavy into the full platform issues, and I would love to have that discussion. However,
yes, we'll have that later.
But I want to continue the actual reasons behind all of our voting choices. So before I let you go, it's one way or the other. Are you voting Democrat or Republican or Libertarian in this next election?
Well, the good thing about living in the state of Washington is I can do what I want with my vote because I know the whole thing is, it's only 4 states that matter. It's Pennsylvania, Ohio every year. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be game time decision.
So you are still undecided at this point.
It'll either I'll vote for Biden and Kamala, or I'll protest vote and vote for JoJo, the Libertarian candidate, because we're going blue anyway, so I can do that.
Got it. All right. Let's see. That's cool. And we're gonna.
I want Biden and Harris to win, just to be clear.
I got it. We're gonna be talking about that either next week or following week. So that's good. We'll talk more in detail about that. But your basic platform is what I wanted to get, which means the next person we're going to is Carolyn. Thank you, Drew. Carolyn, I will unmute you. Sorry. Go ahead.
I am making my debut as a Trump girl, coming out of the political closet right now, right here. I'm going to lose a lot of friends on my Facebook. I don't really particularly care. I have respect for all of you here. My Facebook's gone down from 1,100 to 280. By the time I'm done, I might have 2 friends, but they'll be my 2 best friends.
You about to get a bunch more friends, girl.
But
you're about to
you about to get a bunch more friends.
Right. I think what happened here needed to happen the way it needed to happen. I think in order for us to have really honest, hard decisions, we have to make a connection first. I think everybody here made a connection, and you feel safe with each other now to share your views. So here come my views. I cannot vote for Biden for these reasons. Okay. He flip-flops on his decisions and his policies and his beliefs. There is no consistency. He is mentally declining. I cannot see him sitting in a position of power with other countries. He is, and I'll be very honest, and this is a personal judgment, the man creeps me out when I see him with little kids and women. He actually makes my skin crawl, and I'm very intuitive. And that was those things on him. So I just don't like the man. I don't like his character. I know that he's not going to be our president. Kamala Harris is going to be our president. I would never vote for a woman just because she's a woman. It's not who I am. Like I said about the Me Too movement, you have to be of character. She does not have the character either to be sitting in that seat, in my opinion. Donald Trump, he may be crass. He may just put shit out there, but what you see is what you get. You know the devil you're getting if you think he's a devil. I happen to love him. I've learned to like him. I observe him when all eyes aren't on him. I watch how he interacts with people, how he includes them. He has a lot of money and he's a powerful man, and he sits right down there with us in our seats, okay? And I tell my children this: when you're looking at your president, you have to look at how it affects your home, your nuclear home, in your four walls. You have to look how it affects your nation and the people around you, and you have to look how it affects the world, right? I don't see Biden and Kamala Harris sitting in a seat of power making big deals in the world. Donald Trump just made a peace agreement with the Arab Emirates and Israel. I mean, that is one of the biggest. If that man doesn't get a Nobel Peace Prize for that, it's a shame, because that is a huge. I don't care where it goes. It is a huge step towards world peace. And he's a man he does what he says he's going to do, right? And this is a man I didn't like when I voted for. I voted for him because I voted for my father, who died of cancer, August of 2016. I was not voting for Hillary. Again, I told you I won't vote for a woman just because she's a woman. I had voted for Trump because I promised my father I would cast a vote for him, and I did. And I learned to really like the guy. The guy has a big heart. If you look and you do the research, I mean, we have a president who doesn't take a paycheck. He's a billionaire. He gives his money away. He's a president of law and order. I am a law and order girl. I like to feel safe. I'm a single mother. I don't want my police department defunded. I want my police given more money. I want my military. I know what those guys get paid. They're not living the life they give their life, their service. They have less freedoms than anybody when they sign up for the military, and they don't make tons of money. I want to see those guys make money. They get killed for us. They lose their lives for us. And we have to watch people burning flags. Now, I know that's a freedom. I get it. Don't get me wrong. But it's one I am not proud of, and it makes me sick to watch. So I feel like you can't deny the economy has been like amazing. I'm a single mother. I take more money home now. Oh, I'm going to give you my good one. I take more money home on my paycheck because he did the tax rollback. He did another tax rollback. Well, I'll be taking more money home each week in my paycheck. But more than that, when Obama was in office, my tax returns as a single mother, head of household, and I'll share this, was about $3,000 a year. When Trump came into office, I was getting $9,000 tax returns as a single mother, head of household. You will never see that with the Democrats. People that are making what I'm making now won't be able to pay their bills if the taxes go up the way they want to put them. Who do you think is paying for all this socialism? We are, you are. It's going to come out of our taxes. And you can only take money from some other place for so long before there isn't any. Look at Cuba. Look at Venezuela. Socialism is the beginning of a failing nation. And if you don't like Trump, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to stop talking, Anthony, because I know you're getting that stress thing. We got to stop talking. You may not like Trump. And I do love you guys. I don't care who you vote for. But I just want to say my piece because it's important for my voice to be heard. If you were having, here we go, Anthony. If you were having life-threatening brain surgery, would you want the surgeon who has an awesome bedside manner, is professional and polished, but kills half of his patients on the table? Or do you want the surgeon with no bedside manner at all, that you can't even stand talking to him, but he has a 99.8 success rate? Who would you choose? We can't choose on personality. We have to choose on policy, skill, and the ability to get the job done. Trump is a deal maker. No one can say he's not. He makes deal after deal. This guy sat with North Korea. This guy has sat with Russia. This guy has sat with China. I mean, you cannot take those things away from him. You have to really look at what he's done. And it's a list about 50 to 100 deep. He signs executive orders like nothing any of us has ever seen before. And that's why I am with Trump. And I have no money. I'm not like rich. I'm not like the rich white girl. No, I am a struggling single white woman mother. And I love Trump.
Thank you, Carolyn. No, that was good. I appreciate it. While I'm watching this, I'm trying to pair up who is going to be on the next time together. And based on Drew's facial reactions, it's definitely going to be Drew and Carolyn together. We are definitely going to have that because I know you guys have different backgrounds and different opinions on policy. And I saw Drew just doing one of these like, and
well, I am completely anti-socialism. Like it's not an option for me.
Yeah. You know? That's fine. No. And that was a great piece. And a lot of people heard what you're saying. And I think that I would like to engage more in a conversation with Drew and you on the side. I'm still trying to figure out who I'm going to put yo-yo with. So, all right. And now the fact that you talked military, I think it's perfect that we are going to go to Rashawn for his final piece right now.
I mean, I don't really have a cool soliloquy like everyone else. But I just want to add this. I think you can tell by what everyone said and how differing the opinions on what the facts were, that's, like I said before, the discussion that needs to be had, because you can't really have a productive discussion when you're starting from two different, completely drastic sides as far as what the actual facts are.
I failed on that one, right? By the way, apparently.
So,
sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good because my man Jameson is on the line.
Oh, you good?
So it's cool. I got it. but no, that's it. That's all.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm voting for Biden.
Give me, but you can't leave it like that. You got to give me one why it's not rocket science. Why is it such a big deal to you to vote Biden as opposed to Trump?
I mean, I think honestly, before I can even get to the level of policy, you have to get to the level of what's good for the country. Before you can even get to the X's and O's, you have to think about what's actually good. Like someone said, I can't remember who it was, that he's a uniter. Again, that's a whole thing about like where we are on the facts.
Difference in opinion.
But I don't believe that to be true. I think it's kind of blatant that that's not what he's doing. And I think that the ripple effects of that are so long reaching. Like, do we want to start a whole new generation of racists? Like, while we're getting really close to, I mean, you can never get rid of that, but at least removing it from impacting lives. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happens because, I don't know, just the way it's like I said, he's not uniting anyone. He's uniting his base, and that's it. Basically, he's speaking directly to them, and those are the only people who he's looking to take care of. And I'll say this. I won't say that's what he's doing. That's what I feel he's doing, and it seems like it's pretty self-evident. But I won't step out there and claim to be the all-knowing expert.
I let you off. Do you think that Obama was a uniter?
Absolutely. I think the division that was caused by Obama coming in was the reaction to him coming in and the backlash to that coming in. And I think the backlash to him coming in
division didn't happen in his first 4 years. The division in the country happened in his second 4 years.
4 years.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit with that. Go ahead.
Well, not to cut you off, but let me tell you this. Let me say this. I'm not going to tell anybody anything. Let me say this. I was visiting my guy. I was in training in Atlanta, and they were showing some of the primaries. McCain, God bless the dead. And people were coming in with monkey stuffed animals with Obama headbands on. So you can't tell me the division started in the second 4 years.
No, the mass division started in the second 4 years. The outliers are always going to be there, and I think, and honestly, I actually disagree a little bit with both of you guys in a friendly way, Carolyn and Rashawn. I think that I don't think Trump's a great uniter because I do think he has a responsibility to know that the media is going to take him out of context. But I think right now his issue is winning the next election. I think as a whole, he's got the potential to be a great uniter, but I think he's choosing right now to try to find a way to get reelected, which at this point for Carolyn, myself, Cash, is a very important thing for us. So I almost don't disagree with it. But in terms of the racism, I do think that there is going to be a whole another level of racist, Rashawn. I think we are breeding it because of the things we talked about on this show. Because of things like Black Lives Matter that have become divisive. I've seen a lot of heads shaking up top. I think the environment that we are in is creating heightened racism, it doesn't have anything to do with Trump.
Not to knock you real quick, just to not cut you off, but I don't think it's necessarily that specifically. I don't think any specific issue it's speaking to any specific issue. I think in general, it's just creating extremism. The environment right now is creating extremism on every topic, whether you're talking NBA, politics, whatever it is. Everything is like, it's the worst ever, or the best ever.
100% agreed. And I could not disagree with you more. I just think we disagree on the cause of it because I do think there is a high level of responsibility in the media. I look at somebody who just commented on the side right now that literally because I have a difference in a presidential opinion, a person that I love will question my values. And did you put that up, Curtis?
Did I? Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, sorry.
Karen, that wasn't you.
There's like, no. There's something on the side that I care very much about, and it's something that I'm continuously frustrated by because of the argument that that if you're voting for somebody else, you question somebody's values. And I think that division has nothing to do with Trump. That division has to do with us internally, and that's where we need to actually have some self-responsibility, like you said earlier, and realize there is a lot of reasons to not vote one way and to vote another. Carolyn's right. Biden, as somebody that has a 5-year-old daughter, if I wouldn't want my child around the president, that's scary as fuck. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I wouldn't want my wife around this president.
Hey, because he balls with the budget. All right. Anyways.
All
right. What do we got next? Thank you again, Rashawn. I appreciate you. Stick around for a split second. Let's see if we can wrap this up because I do want to thank you guys personally behind the scenes. So let's go up to, is Jay next? Rashawn, Jay, and then holy crap, we finally made it.
We can see the finish line.
Yeah.
I think that look, I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden. I'll just get that out of the way right off the bat. I think that it'd be really easy to if I'm invited back to talk about this subject a little deeper, I'm happy to go into some of the policies that Joe Biden is standing for and is campaigning on that I agree with and some that I don't agree with. As it relates to this election, though, I think it'd be really simple for me to go after Trump with ad hominem attacks on his sexism, his racist dog whistles, his consistent daily lies. These are really easy things to attack him on. But back to your original point, Anthony, I think I'd rather dig into the issues, specific issues that I majorly disagree with Trump on. And there are things that I made a list of things that I literally can't tell whether these are corruption or Trump is just terribly unfit for his job. The things that we legislated over the years, over the last 3.5 years or almost 4 years now. Constant violations of the annulments clause over and over and over again. It's almost every day he violates the annulments clause. He repealed the stream protection rule, which barred mining companies from discharging debris containing mercury and arsenic into rivers and streams. He appointed 59 people to the EPA that have direct ties to the fossil fuel industry. He withdrew from the International Arms Trade Treaty, which curbs illegal arms sales and establishes common international standards for weapons trades. He withdrew from the Paris Agreement on climate change, which 189 countries had ratified. He canceled the Mine Ban Treaty, which prohibits the use of landmines outside of the DMZ. All things COVID. I mean, we could do 3 hours on the mishandling of COVID. He fired the chairman of a watchdog committee that was in place to oversee how his administration spent the $2 trillion of coronavirus relief. He ended protections for transgender patients who, against discrimination by doctors, hospitals, and insurance companies. A lot of this stuff kind of ties me. One of the best memes I've ever seen about Trump early on in his presidency would said that he would appoint orange juice to head up the toothpaste committee. And a lot of these things that I see that he's done over the years, again, I can't tell if it's corruption or he's just this unfit to be president. There's so many things that he has done that just make you shake your head. Again, and I'm not even going into the ad hominem stuff, how I feel about him personally, whether I think he's a racist or a sexist or anything like that, just on these issues. Talking about he might not accept the 2020 election. I mean, it's just, it would take me 5 hours to go through all of these things. And I think, we could probably argue about it for 10, but for all of those reasons and many reasons that are pro-Joe Biden as well, though not nearly as many pro-Joe Biden as anti-Donald Trump, I'll be voting for Biden, and I'll be urging everyone in America to do the same thing because I think it's important to get this demagogue out of the White House.
All right. Hey, you said it well, no matter if I disagree or not. I do want to touch on a couple points because you bring up valid questions. Is it because he's unfit or because he doesn't care about the shitty rules that we've had running our government and binding us from actually making change? Again, that's an opinion-based situation. Some of them are constitutional laws that you're bringing up that he's breaking that are still quasi-unproven. Paris Agreement, quasi-unproven. Paris Agreement, for me, as a person that I'm sure based on the way you talk, I know you've researched as well, I think it was ridiculous that we were in the Paris Climate Accord, not because it's not a great thing to help the environment. It's a thing that negatively affects our economy when we were putting ourselves, because we were leading the charge to make this change across the world. We were 10 years ahead of countries like India and China that literally would handcuff us economically. So I think much like NAFTA, there was a reason behind that. COVID, I think right now it's very interesting. We're not playing what's going on across the world. There's a second wave happening everywhere right now. It's not just us handling it poorly. We have a different way of life. And unfortunately, the freedoms that make America great are also what's hurting us across the board. I think our numbers are, I assume that most of us in this panel would agree that the numbers are a little bit overinflated, as I know first off, I know one person that has died from COVID directly. We had a whole show about that person yesterday. At the same token, I know direct knowledge of people that passed away from things that were listed as COVID. So I think our numbers are a little bit high, and I do think there is different ways to look at COVID. And I don't necessarily think everybody thinks it was handled poorly. I think it's the worst situation on the planet, and we are completely out of nowhere. Curtis, you're next, I promise. And then the transgender thing, I've had this conversation briefly with a friend of mine. I get that. And honestly, that bill, she sent it to me. It's very, very long, and it covers multiple things in terms of the way healthcare pays for it. And just the same with any politician, I don't think it's an obvious answer either way you look at it, because that bill has a lot of other stuff in it. And I think that's a governmental issue that we force things down each other's throat because everybody's got an agenda on a Republican side and on a Democrat side. And unfortunately, not every bill that's signed into action, just like I can name all the good things that he signed, which are just insane, but that doesn't mean that had to do with him per se. So I think there are some elements that are just unfortunately political, and I do not blame Trump for those things. And I think the good things that he does that were really his spearheading that we have to talk about, which hopefully we'll talk about in another episode. I do fully enjoy your conversation, though, Jay. I just want to make sure I pointed those things out. I'm going to end right after Curtis. And I'm going to talk just really quick on an economy level why I'm a Trump person. But Curtis, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just seeing just a couple things on the division part. I experienced some of the division that happened when Obama came into office. I also saw how Republicans and some Democrats treated him when he was actually president in the House and doing different things when people actually shouted out, which was very. I've never seen that with Trump while he was speaking. Also, I saw how Paul Ryan, who was a Republican, was very disrespectful to President Obama when he sat down with Republicans at a table to actually broker a deal for healthcare. which was based off of a Republican healthcare plan. And now what I will say is what we do see happening under Trump after the Republicans, and again, I'm conservative, but I like to see people put their money where their mouth is. And for the first 2 years of the presidency of Donald Trump, and the Republicans had all three branches, they passed nothing for healthcare. And that was one of the biggest things that everybody was like, Trump's going to repeal Obama and replace it. They replaced it with nothing. They repealed a lot of things to make it go bad. But guess what's happening?
I just muted Curtis. Hold on. So, no, I did that to you. I got to say goodbye to Drew. His children are getting upset. And then, sorry, there you go. Bye, Drew. Love you.
I hate you, Drew. I'm joking. I love you, Drew. Your beard's amazing. And I need that pick. No, I'm just saying that under Trump right now, with the pandemic going on and with 40 million people being out of their job, and of course, 40 million is a number that is broad. I can't give you exact. Affordable Care Act is expanding because people are realizing they don't have health insurance because they don't have a job. And so this is one thing that a lot of people didn't realize that could happen. I'm not for socialism. I'm not for paying for everything for everybody. I lived in a socialist-ish country before, and I realized some of the good things and some of the bad things. But I just wanted to say that the Affordable Care Act is expanding right now because there's people who don't have money and don't have a job to be able to get health care. And that's something that happens repeatedly. And what people forget is we're paying for that anyway. When a person goes to the hospital, they have to be stabilized no matter what. And that gets charged off to the government. And then last thing, I know Carolyn mentioned Cuba. Cuba is a very delicate situation because America has an embargo on Cuba right now. Still, we're blocking everything to go in there in other countries. That happened to Haiti also. And Haiti also got embargoed with France, and America did jump in on that, even though people don't know this. Haitian people fought for the American Revolution, and there is a memorial in Savannah, Georgia. And what did America do? We were in part of that embargo, and Citibank was a part of a loan that is still getting paid off, that was paid by Haiti because Haiti got their freedom. So I just want to let the people know that Cuba is also suffering. And again, I don't agree with how Cuba's doing their thing, but there is some CIA stuff that happened in Cuba of how certain people got into power. And guess who's a part of that? America. And all I'm saying is we need to look at what America has done and who we've put in power in other countries, because we have that power. And that's when we have to go, okay, great. We need to make sure all of our flaws are going on. I just want to make sure we address some of those things. And Trump has done a lot of great things for this country. Obama did a lot of great things. He's done more because he had 8 years. So we'll see if Trump gets another 4 or not. I will say, however, for the pandemic, the response where we are now is not too bad. But I will say one major thing that happened, we were not prepared because of this president's administration. Not blaming the president, because Obama left. President Obama, his administration, I can't say him, left a team and a playbook, which is evidence, to fight and to potentially see a pandemic potentially coming. And that team was disbanded. I don't want to say fired or whatever else that the media is using different words. That was changed. Money was rerouted. And look where we are now, where we have people and we don't have clear answers and we didn't have a team in place. I'm just saying, if I was in the military and you took my Air Force away and then you say, oh, we need an Air Force because people are coming in with planes, that's just because we kind of get a handle on it doesn't mean it was ready. So I just
Curtis, what if it was you said it's like if you got rid of the Air Force, but what if you didn't get rid of the Air Force, you just got rid of the name the Air Force and you put all the pilots and the planes in with the Army? That's all that happened. Every single position was still there after the pandemic response team. Every position, but I believe 2 or 3 was just shifted into different groups. The playbook was still there, and it also saved the taxpayers somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, I don't know the exact.
I don't know how much it saved us because we spent a lot of other money other places. But I'm just saying the Air Force and the Marines and the Navy all have planes. But why is the Air Force still there? Because of strategy and because of the focus on the air. So that's what I'm saying is, again, it's there, but they shifted, and you shift strategies and you shift focus, you don't have it. That's why you have a quarterback with a quarterback's coach.
If something like this happened every 5 years or 10 years and we need it on a regular basis, I get it. I don't think we really saw this one coming. All right.
Well, Obama had two things happen, Ebola and the other big one. And then he also had, didn't he have Zika? So I'm just saying, there's a couple things that happened, but, I digress. Yep. I'm not, again, this is administration, not just Trump.
Right.
On both sides. There's some problems.
H1N1 did happen. I see Jay coming, and it did happen. And a lot of people died, and we didn't hear about it on the news. Fucking shocker.
Which one?
H1N1.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So go ahead. Are you good, Curtis? You wrapped?
Oh, I'm done. I'm out.
All right. So I'm going to make this real fast. I'm going to do a little 3-minute ditty about, first off, about this show. Second off, the show. In terms of Trump, I want to make a statement for the economy. A lot of people think he's greedy. A lot of people, and we've talked a lot of points, and there's a lot of different points I can go into. And I think from a policy perspective, I can go all day back and forth with Jay because I think all of his points were great. At the same token, I think there's always counterpoints. Just like anything I say for Trump can have a counterpoint because it's all hypothetical. And just like with Curtis, hypothetically, we don't know what happened by disbanding that team. So from an economic perspective, this is what I want to stress to a lot of people. And I know that the percentage of our viewers demographically is 40 to 55 years old. So with that said, what economics directly relates to health, wellness of human beings. It's not a greedy terminology. It's in order to actually have people happy and fed and eating healthy foods and also looking towards retirement, able to retire at a certain age. And suicide thoughts. I mean, that's what we're seeing from all the unemployment right now based on COVID. So with all that said, the way that we look at our economy in the United States, we have been programmed to think that if we invest, if we teach our children to invest and we do Roth IRAs and we put away $100 a month and all these different things, and it creates generational wealth, and that's actually being passed a lot to inner city communities, is trying to say this is how you build some kind of something to leave behind. The great thing about our economic system is it's set into a place that every 20 years, if you look at it, and this is what every agent will tell you, if you put your money in 20 years later, no matter what we go through, depression, even including the 1929, the start of the depression, everything, every 20 years, we go up, which actually looks wrong. So we go up because it's backwards. Everything, and that's the way that our economy has always been. And we as Americans assume if you live in Japan or China or Europe or Russia, that if you put your money in the stock market, that's how it works. That isn't how it works. That's how it works only in the United States of America. What Trump has done is a little bit on the dangerous side, and I'll admit that because the way that he has set up our economy with the tariffs against China, as well as the way that now we've cut our rates in order to keep us to survive right now in terms of the Fed, which again is not actually part of the federal government, but helping that guide itself. We've essentially put ourselves in a liquid, molten, hot lava bath, which can cause our economy to get much better. But by taking his policies out without giving them a chance, it sends us in, especially, and I do firmly believe if Biden wins, that'll be a sign across the country. And I think that we will have a Democrat Senate, Democrat House. I think it'll be Democrats across the board, all three. And I think that's the reason why I'm afraid for that specific purpose, and I can get directly into Trump policies another time, is if we send our system into that shock, if we send that molten hot lava ball into that ice bath, I think it will directly affect our economy for not just the next 4 years. I think it will do something that will reverse the course of the way our American economy has, because it will change a system so drastically when it's at a point where it can't be. So when I was talking about other countries, people think America is the way it is across the world. China's highest economy was actually in the late 1990s. That was when their stock market was the highest. You look at Japan, I believe, was in the early 2000s. Europe was in the early 2000s, but most of them just go like this over time. So that means any of that investment that we're trying to have in our future, or people that have invested now for the next 15, 20 years, won't see any return. When they're going to retire, there's no growth. There's no nothing. If anything, it could be lower. And again, this is just based on the way that I've looked at economical stuff. This isn't fact. This isn't 100% truth. This is based on my research, what I see. And I think that's one thing to look at on economy. And we can go deep into policy another day and how he's handled COVID in a shitty situation. I think we're all going to have different opinions, and we'll save that for our next conversation. But with that, I just wanted to give that little piece of, as somebody that follows economic look, I want to give that just a different perspective, because we've talked about a lot of different stuff, and that was kind of out of the ballpark of what we've really mentioned. So with all that said, I want to thank our guests on this show, Yo-Yo, Curtis, of course, Jay, Carolyn, Rashawn, and even Brian. I feel bad about kind of the way that happened, but I think that that's a teachable moment, and that's what I'm going to end on, is the way that we present conversations are incredibly important. The way we frame that. And while we are building what I'm working on with Cash and Streetlights and Curtis and Aaron, the whole concept is to bring people together and create action. And that action right now is communication. Besides that, we are working. We have 90 people that have volunteered to try to figure out what we're doing, but we're building a structure, unlike what we might have said Black Lives Matter did. And because we don't want to have something good going in 3 years and us be questioned and us be unable to control the narrative that we want to present, which is positivity, togetherness, no matter what. And I cannot speak highly enough of Yosra in this conversation, that we started out with a Facebook fight 3 days ago, haven't talked to each other in 15 years, got on, had a civil conversation, and she still took fire from the side that I didn't think made sense, because Yosra listened to me more than I listened to her, unfortunately, because it was just, that was the situation. And I want to give Yosra an immense amount of credit for how she handled that tonight. And I want to give Drew a lot of credit for how he actually, how he managed to still show love for Brian, somebody that we all completely disagreed with the way he handled the situation. And we have to realize that we are raising this, the current turmoil is raising more negativity than positivity. And we as a group want to find a way to de-escalate and bring positivity to each other. And all I can take from this is this was the most stressful episode I've ever had. There's too many damn people on. And I speak on failure. And I will say this is not a complete failure, but it was a failure of judgment on how to control a situation. And we will be better for it. And I thank everybody for joining. Yeah, there's Curtis commenting on the side. I have to read it once. Yes. Yep. Are you saying that I was mismanaging? What were you talking about, Curtis? You're me. Oh, did I mute you? My bad. Go ahead. We're failing at this. Oh my God. Let me do it. There we go.
Yeah, take it. No, I was talking to Carolyn. We were talking about Haiti and mismanagement. I told her I was down in Haiti helping, and I saw a lot of mismanagement.
Got it. Sorry, I saw one comment. I thought I had to make sure to address it before we got off the air. So with that said, I thank you guys for being on. Yo-Yo, I kind of, because of what you took, I want to give you the final word. That's not me on this one. I just want to remember everybody, be the change they wish to see in the world. I can't say it as passionately and well as Cash, but unite, don't fight. Be the change you wish to see in the world. I don't know how he does these. Be a street light. Yeah, he's good at it. He's got more flow. But I thank you guys for joining us. And it's Carolyn's got it down. Yeah. Yep. Yosra, the end of the show is yours.
Let's just support each other. I think Drew did say it best. Like, if any of you guys needed something to rally for, I would 100% be there, because all that really matters is we're all human and humanity, and let's just support each other.
Works for me. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Bye.
That was only 3 hours. It's not too bad. It's about as long as my workouts.